Master Jang Fan sips his tea, and a severed head rolls to his feet. A witness steps forward, threatening to expose the atrocities of the conquering Heaven General. Leave a like and subscribe to walk this dangerous path. Master lowered his head and took a light sip of the top-quality spiritual tea, his fingers rhythmically tapping on his knee, silently counting in his heart. 1, 2, 3. However, just as he finished counting to 3, a blood-soaked head rolled to his feet. Fresh blood sprayed into the tea, staining the green liquid a bloody red. Some blood splattered onto his face, making his already sinister visage even more eerie. The young master stopped tapping his finger on his thigh, his narrow, elongated eyes moving upwards toward the battleground. His eyes gradually narrowed. The imagined scene of Jang Fan with his atorifious nascent soul being blown to pieces in a mist of blood by the combined strike of 10 generals from the East City did not appear. On the contrary, Jang Fan held a finger to his lips, continuously chanting a spell. The 10 generals of the East City were all drunk, hardly able to stand. Jang Fan, on the other hand, gripped the purple sword, slashing one by one. Those protected by Dharma could barely defend against it. Those without it were like headless generals, their heads severed from their bodies. Swish! Another general decapitated. His head flew skyward, a pillar of blood spraying from his neck. The soul, unable to escape, was forcibly captured by Jang Fan with a soul-capturing lock and sealed into a ghost soul crystal. In less than 5 breaths, without mentioning bringing back Jang Fan's head, the young master had lost 2 generals. They were valuable assets equivalent to 9 aperture nascent souls of the human clan. The entire Heavenly Heritage City had just over 100. Each loss was a significant blow to Heavenly Heritage City. Moreover, it was a blatant slap in the face, happening right in front of the young master. HMPH! The young master stood up, smashing the bloody spiritual tea onto the ground, and in the next moment he disappeared on the spot. Jang Fan then slashed the neck of the 4th general. He also lacked the protection of Dharma. Seeing that he could decapitate him, Jang Fan keenly sensed the flow of the atmosphere. With a cold face, he shouted softly, "Dayan sword array!" The 2 swords behind him flew out, forming a sword array with the purple sword in his palm, transforming into a 3-color divine rainbow slashing forward. Crack! A crisp breaking sound echoed. The young master, who had teleported in front of Jang Fan, sensed the terrifying power of the 3-color divine rainbow, and his eyes narrowed. He decisively took out a white bone shield to protect himself. This was bestowed by the city lord, capable of blocking a strike from a divinity transformation venerable of the human clan. What surprised him was that the white bone shield was slashed with dense cracks by the 3-color divine rainbow. It almost shattered the shield. He glared at Jang Fan, his voice low. Despite being an atorifious nascent soul, you can unleash an attack equivalent to a heavenly person decline. When did returning ruined state have someone like you? Jang Fan remained icy cold and said, "Hand over the conquering Heaven General." The young master clasped his hands behind his back, saying indifferently, "To come to Heavenly Heritage City asking for someone, you really are confident." Then he laughed heartily. "But I like it. I like someone with strength and madness like you. Stay and be my dog, and this young master will spare your life." As a young master of the Dharma Image Realm, one of the 10 Dharma Image Realm individuals in Heavenly Heritage City, he had such confidence. Being his dog was not derogatory, it was a reward for those he acknowledged. Jang Fan coldly stared at him. "Get lost. If you stand in my way, I'll kill you just the same." To Jang Fan, someone facing death rarely instilled fear, making him even more fearless. Now let alone the young master of Heavenly Heritage City. Even facing the city lord, he felt no sense of awe. Speaking, his eyes flashed with thunder light, shooting towards the young master at close range. "Pa!" The young master raised his hand, effortlessly shattering it. The smile on his face gradually vanished, and he said blandly, "It seems you don't understand the situation. This is Heavenly Heritage City with 10 Dharma Image Realm experts here, and 109 aperture nascent soul level half-giants. Moreover, there are endless half-giant armies. Killing you is merely a matter of my will." Jang Fan replied coldly, "The one not understanding the situation is you." He swung his arm, sending the Kayang city in his hand crashing forward. It crushed a large section of the white bone city wall, embedding itself into Heavenly Heritage City. Only then did the young master scrutinize the city Jang Fan had brought. At a glance, his expression finally changed, panic permeating his eyes. "Kayang City? You You've been to the 7 cities of heavenly abyss and walked out of the time reversal. The time reversal personally set up by the sage was actually broken. What happened in the 7 cities of heavenly abyss would soon spread throughout returning ruined state. The time reversal being broken, such a big commotion, couldn't be hidden from the top experts of returning ruined state. The events within won't be kept from them for long either. Heavenly Heritage City sparing no expense to hire that sage to cover up the scandal failed. Soon, furious human clan magic cultivation experts would come demanding explanations. Thinking of this, he was anxious. When he looked at Jang Fan in front of him again, annoyance flared in his eyes. "Do you know what you've done?" Jang Fan coldly said. "I know I've left nowhere for you beasts to hide." He held the sword array in his hand, coldly saying, "Have you figured out your situation? If you don't want Heavenly Heritage City being implicated by the conquering Heaven General, hand him over and immediately cut ties. When the strong of returning ruined state come to hold you accountable, it'll be too late." The young master stared poisonously at Jang Fan, but didn't act rashly. Because Jang Fan was firmly holding onto the crucial point. Since the events of the 7 cities of Heavenly Abyss were exposed, Heavenly Heritage City had to clearly separate from the conquering Heaven General. They couldn't shelter him even if they wanted to. But, as the young master of Heavenly Heritage City, one of the venerable level of returning ruined state, how could he be threatened by a nascent soul realm? The young master's eyes narrowed. "I will cut ties with the conquering Heaven General. But killing you first and then cutting ties is also feasible." Suddenly, someone appeared beside Jang Fan. Golden mask, fiery red gown, graceful and harmonious body lines. It was indeed Ziwei Fairy. She said faintly, "You half-giants, do you have a habit of cannibalism? If my master knew about this, she surely wouldn't have arranged our marriage alliance." The young master was surprised. "Ziwei, why are you here too?" Ziwei Fairy approached Jang Fan, calmly saying, "Want to kill me too?" The young master dared to kill Jang Fan because Jang Fan was a nobody. If he died, no one would care. But if Ziwei Fairy died at Heavenly Heritage City, Star Mountain would never let it go. The young master's face darkened, scrutinizing the two of them, saying, "Ziwei, what is your relationship with this man?" Ziwei Fairy replied faintly, "No relationship. I'm just like him, here to demand blood debt from the conquering Heaven General. After devouring several cities, your Heavenly Heritage City actually shelters him." In her final words, her eyes were full of coldness. Her gaze towards the young master was also unabashedly filled with disgust. The young master's face changed. The heir of Star Mountain personally came to demand an explanation. If he continued sheltering the conquering Heaven General, he'd truly implicate Heavenly Heritage City. Of course, to sincerely hand over the conquering Heaven General for Jang Fan to deal with. Dream on. If he had the means, let him deal with the conquering Heaven General himself. Lord smiled slightly and said, "Ziwei, you've misunderstood. How could we shelter that kind of person? I've already imprisoned him, preparing to deal with him at a suitable time. Please wait a moment, I'll go to the dungeon and bring him out." Jang Fan said indifferently. No need. Since entering Heavenly Heritage City, he had been carrying the smell jade. On the corpses in Kayang City, there remained a lot of the conquering Heaven General's aura, making it easy to pinpoint the conquering Heaven General's hiding place. His gaze swept around, locking onto a luxurious bone palace. He couldn't help but laugh in anger. Thunder light flickered in the palm of his hand, and a 1,000-foot thunder sword suddenly appeared, violently splitting open the bone palace. Amid the thunderous roar, the bone palace collapsed. Dust scattered everywhere. Within the hazy dust, a 5-foot-tall half-giant covered with purple veins sat on the bed. Sharp eyes pierced through the dust, fiercely glaring at Jang Fan. Jang Fan coldly smiled. "Is this what you call imprisonment?" Ziwei Fairy's face grew colder. "My master greatly overestimated you half-giant's bottom line. This marriage alliance, I think we should forget it." The young city lord stared coldly at Jang Fan. "This guy keeps ruining his plans. Before you die, announce your name." He no longer hid his intent, his tone carrying a chilling hint. Jang Fan didn't look at him, but coldly exchanged glances with the conquering Heaven General among the fading dust. "I am the one who specializes in slaying the ancestors of your beasts. You can call me by my heavenly realm name, Wang Xianxia, or by my central earth name, Jang Fan." "What?" The young city lord's face showed surprise, exclaiming, "Are you the one who twice caused chaos in the heavenly realm?" The eastern city's 8 surviving generals had their pupils constrict, their eyes showing unavoidable fear. As time passed, The tales of Jang Fan twice breaking into the southern heavenly realm had already spread throughout the central Earth 9 provinces. First, he delved into the royal court, slaughtering the space giant king, and escaped from the 5-star giant king's grasp. Did you think that was the end? Not long after, he stormed into the heavenly realm again. This time, he annihilated an entire barrack, captured Princess Usura alive, rescued Xingyuan Venerable, and even obliterated a Wu Gu who betrayed Central Earth. It's no exaggeration to say that he is absolutely the most hated Central Earth being by the ancient giants. No exception. Jang Fan ignored them, coldly staring at the conquering heaven general. He extended his palm, holding a pile of original stars. Even after giving the ice and fire Demon Lord 2, there were still a full 6 left. This meant that under his hand, including the remains, there were more than 5 giant kings dead. The half-giants showed shocked expressions. So many original stars. How many giant kings did he kill? The eastern city's 8 generals felt a chill down their spine, narrowly surviving thanks to their ancestors' grave smoked green. The young city lord couldn't help but have his pupils shrink. Even he didn't dare ensure he could kill a giant king, yet Jang Fan succeeded. What made him take a cold breath was, among the 6 stars, 2 were green original stars. This meant Jang Fan successfully killed a 2-star giant king. Now, the young city lord's heart tightened. Coming to demand blood debt from the conquering heaven general was not just any ordinary person, but the legendary Jang Fan. Jang Fan ignored them, laughing scornfully at the conquering heaven general. Your ancestors were slaughtered so much by me, how can you still sit still? Aren't you a filial descendant? Why don't you hurry to avenge them on me? Boom. The conquering heaven general's body burst with a terrifying aura, shaking off the collapsed palace. His eyes full of anger. You're courting death, daring to provoke him in front of heavenly heritage city like this. How could he, who boasts to be a descendant of ancient giants, endure this? The young city lord spoke deeply. Conquering heaven general, you are now a criminal of heavenly heritage city. Leave heavenly heritage city immediately, you're not welcome here. It appeared he was driving away the conquering heaven general. But in reality, he was hinting for him to leave quickly. This Jang Fan is difficult to deal with, though not reaching Venerate level. His methods are manifold and terrifying. One-on-one, the conquering heaven general might face life-threatening danger. The conquering heaven general felt somewhat apprehensive. He had heard of Jang Fan's fearsome reputation. Even the genuine giant kings had been lost to him. Urged by the young city lord, he took the chance to leave, snorting, "This general won't stoop to your level." Saying this, he leapt to leave. A strong man of Dharma image realm wants to leave. How could Jang Fan stop him? Unexpectedly. Jang Fan laughed scornfully. So cowardly, yet you wish to emulate your ancestors' grand hunt. Your ancestors were wolves eating meat. You're a dog eating shit. You're damned courting death. The conquering heaven general was utterly enraged. His eyes burned with rage, uttering a chilling roar. Ruining my plans and daring to insult me. He could hide safely in Heavenly Heritage City with the matters of the Heavenly Abyss 7 cities unknown. The result was Jang Fan presenting Kayang City, causing him to be abandoned by Heavenly Heritage City. Now, still recklessly provoking, he stomped his feet. Boom. The physique of Dharma Image Realm was indeed formidable, oppressing the air to roar. Space vaguely showed signs of depression, nearly revealing a black void. Jang Fan constantly activated Wind Origin, keenly capturing the opponent's trajectory. A cold expression appeared on his face. You're just in time, with a thought. The 9-dragon demon tripod suddenly appeared before him, enveloped lightly by his soul power. Catching the conquering heaven general's trajectory, he then manipulated the 9-dragon demon tripod to fiercely smash it. The conquering heaven general dismissively said, "I thought you were more formidable, trying to defeat me with a broken tripod." Scram! His large fist fiercely bombarded the flying 9-dragon demon tripod. In his imagination, even if the tripod's material was special and hard to shatter, it should be punched away. However, when he punched, an indescribable piercing pain shot from his fist. He felt as if he were a child pummeling an iron plate with full force. Crack! His fist was instantly smashed, made flesh and blood blurry, revealing broken fingers. SSS! The conquering heaven general gasped, his face showing horror. What is this tripod? Why is it so heavy? Watching Jang Fan easily maneuver it, yet himself using full force, the 9-dragon demon tripod remained unmoved. Instead, it injured his fist. A tripod to claim your life! Jang Fan's voice fell, the 9-dragon demon tripod rammed again. The conquering heaven general's heart trembled, daring no longer to underestimate Jang Fan. This person is truly as unpredictable and dangerous as the rumors say. He tapped his toes, dodging quickly, appearing with instantaneous movement before Jang Fan. A long arm carrying void-crushing destructive power fiercely punched Jang Fan's head. But at that moment, Jang Fan's mind moved. A spatial ripple burst forth. The top of the conquering heaven general's head darkened. It was that 9-dragon demon tripod, wrapped by space power, smashed towards his head. Replaying the same trick, he kept one hand attacking Jang Fan, the other gently slapping the tripod wall of the 9-dragon demon tripod, aiming to lightly push it off course. However, as soon as his palm touched it, the conquering heaven general realized something was wrong. Update: a sticky black liquid unknowingly appeared on the wall of the tripod, sticking his palm to the surface. He focused his gaze. His pupils contracted. It's the mysterious demon liquid from the Great Wilderness State. During Jang Fan's space shift earlier, he had smeared a layer of the mysterious demon liquid on it. The 9-dragon demon tripod was pitch black, and the similarly black, mysterious demon liquid made it indistinguishable to the naked eye. Before he could think of a way to break free, with a loud boom, the 9-dragon demon tripod came crashing down. The conquering heaven general only managed to dodge aside before the 9-dragon demon tripod slammed heavily onto the ground. Due to his hand being stuck to it, the terrifying force pulled him down as well. Day and sword array? Amidst his frustration, a 3-colored divine rainbow suddenly appeared in his peripheral vision. It was as if Jang Fan had predicted this scene in advance. The sword array had long been formed, cutting fiercely toward his neck. The terrifying power of the divinity transformation strike made the conquering heaven general's face change dramatically. He finally realized the terror that was Jang Fan. In this moment of crisis, he held onto the 9-dragon demon tripod, attempting to dodge. However, with his Dharma image realm physique, lifting the 9-dragon demon tripod was still a struggle, like a snail trying to move. There was no escaping the strike of the 3-colored divine rainbow. In desperation, he roared, "You little scum, you're not enough to kill me." The blood in his body surged like a flood, producing a muffled crashing sound. Next, a Dharma image with 3 heads and 6 arms appeared behind him. This was not the protective Dharma image projection of the half-giant generals. It was a fully solid Dharma image. All 6 arms reached out together, grabbing at the 3-colored divine rainbow. Screech! One by one, the fingers fell like raindrops. With just one strike, all the fingers of the Dharma image were severed. However, it also consumed the sharpness of the 3-colored divine rainbow. The 3-colored divine rainbow reverted into 3 swords, returning to the sword scabbard. Jang Fan's face turned slightly pale. Having used the Dayan sword array twice, his nascent soul power was depleted, unable to unleash a 3rd sword. The conquering heaven general survived the ordeal, his heart pounding wildly. If it wasn't for the Dharma image, he would have died from that strike. Seeing Jang Fan's slightly weakened and fatigued state, a killing intent flashed in his eyes. This man must die, must die. Immediately, he moved his heart spirit, and the 3-headed, 6-armed Dharma image, with a power no less formidable than his own, struck fiercely toward Jang Fan. In terms of speed and strength, it was almost indistinguishable from the conquering heaven general himself. Meanwhile, the conquering heaven general seized the opportunity to look at his own hand. He resolutely extended his other hand and slashed hard at the stuck palm. With a miserable groan, he forcefully chopped off his own palm. Then, viciously turning his head, he glared at Jang Fan, saying coldly, "Now it's 2 against 1." But before he could make a move, the 9-dragon demon tripod suddenly, under Jang Fan's control, smashed into the conquering heaven general again, sticking tightly to his back. The conquering heaven general was enraged and furious. Jang Fan didn't control it early nor late, but waited until he chopped off his own hand to act. It was purely to torment him. "Bastard!" the conquering heaven general roared, now having to carry an incredibly heavy black tripod on his back. However, he could still manipulate the Dharma image to fight. In comparison, distancing himself from the battlefield and letting the Dharma image face the resourceful Jang Fan was a wise move. Thinking of this, he retreated, shouting harshly, "No one can save you today!" Jang Fan retreated rapidly, dodging the terrifying attacks from the Dharma image. His numerous frontal attacks against the divinity transformation venerable were already exhausted. Under the Dharma image, he couldn't last for a few rounds. But he had no intention of a prolonged battle. Glimpsing the conquering Heaven General from afar, Jang Fan's lips moved slightly. The conquering Heaven General suddenly heard a creaking sound as the lid of the 9-dragon demon tripod behind him was opened. He turned his head to look. The inside of the tripod was empty, except for a scroll of black ink-like Buddhist scripture. On the Buddhist scripture, a low-tier explosive jade talisman of the core formation realm was covering it. "Explode!" Jang Fan's voice came. The jade talisman shattered on the spot. Such an explosion was nothing more than a scratch to the conquering Heaven General, causing no harm. It couldn't even destroy the black Buddha scripture. But it was enough to destroy the string on the scripture, with a muffled sound. The fine string wrapping the Buddhist scripture burned away into flames. Freed from its restraints, the Buddhist scripture slowly unfolded. This ancient Buddhist scripture, sealed for at least 1,000 years, containing the Buddhist power and massive yin-chi from the Buddha domain, was finally opened. Even the heavenly listening bodhisattva didn't dare to open it directly. Now, it was suddenly opened in front of the conquering Heaven General without any warning. A terrifying power, so frightening that it made the conquering Heaven General's soul tremble, erupted chaotically from the Buddhist scripture. The power was as strong as a strike from the heavenly human 3 decline. His pupils shrank violently, turning into 2 pinpoints. Terrified, he screamed in fear, "Save me!" The Dharma image he released was immediately summoned back by his thought to press against the tripod lid. But that wasn't enough. The Deputy City Lord also gasped in shock. The exchange between the two seemed lengthy, but it was essentially a flash. In a brief moment, the conquering Heaven General was facing a life-and-death crisis. He solemnly reminded, "Quick, bring out the Venerable guarding the 7 cities of Heavenly Abyss." The conquering Heaven General's eyes immediately brightened. He swiftly untied the pouch at his waist, pulling out an unconscious female Venerable to block the tripod's opening. A Dharma image, combined with the body of a female Venerable, enough to block more than half of the crisis, reducing what should have been a lethal strike to its minimum impact. But just as the Deputy City Lord spoke, Jang Fan took out the void fishing rod. Almost as soon as the female Venerable pressed against the tripod's opening, the fishhook came over and pulled her away. The conquering Heaven General was taken aback, yelling angrily, "Jang Fan!" The Deputy City Lord's face also changed dramatically. He was too late to retrieve the female Venerable, because that terrifying power had already surged out of the 9-dragon demon tripod. The conquering Heaven General's Dharma image, facing that overwhelming power, lasted less than a breath before being completely shattered. The Dharma image collapsed, its spiritual connection causing the conquering Heaven General to spit out a large mouthful of blood. With the shattering of the Dharma image, he fell out of the Dharma image realm. But he had no time to consider the future. The frightening Buddhist power and yin-chi surged through the Dharma image, directly towards him, now close at hand. And with the 9-dragon demon tripod stuck firmly to his back, there was no escaping. In this moment of crisis, the Deputy City Lord gritted his teeth. He couldn't just watch one of the 10 generals of Heavenly Heritage City fall. Immediately, he rushed over, using himself to block the tripod's opening. A complete white bone shield appeared before him. He had used this shield before to successfully block a blow from the Dayan sword array. Crack! But just as it blocked, the shield shattered. The Deputy City Lord roared in fury as 5 streams of Dharma image aura flowed within him. Then, 5 Dharma images appeared behind him. These were the Dharma images of the City Lord of Heavenly Remnant, his father. 5 layers of Dharma images, all blocking the tripod's opening. Bang, 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 the Dharma images shattered in succession, but the impact force was greatly weakened as a result. The Deputy City Lord quickly flickered away, letting the conquering Heaven General bear the last bit of residual power. Even so, the conquering Heaven General's chest was blown apart, his body charred, and black blood splattered all over. His aura weakened to the extreme. His vitality was no longer as robust as before. But he survived. He managed to survive the terrifying power. However, he didn't have time to celebrate. A voice as if from hell, cold and ghostly, echoed in his ear. "It's time to go!" A cold purple sword blade rested upon his neck and slashed deeply. Heaven General's expression froze, his eyes filled with intense fear. His mouth gaped wide, but due to terror, he couldn't utter a sound. He could only feel the cold of the purple sword piercing into his neck. This was his first time experiencing death up close. He never imagined that this day would come so suddenly. In the distance, the young City Lord's pupils also contracted sharply, But he was too late to intervene, his heart leaping to his throat. Is a Dharma image realm about to fall in Heavenly Heritage City? Stop! Just at this moment, a mighty voice full of awe radiated in all directions. Even someone like the young city lord at the Dharma image realm shuddered when the sound passed over him. The 8 generals present simultaneously knelt on the ground. Jang Fan's body became rigid. The sword aimed at conquering heaven general's neck couldn't be swung down. His heart palpitated with fear. What kind of a figure could command such heavenly authority with just a shout? Only one kind of being, a venerable of the heavenly human 5 declines. In Heavenly Heritage City, it would be a body refiner of the 5 phases realm. Such a powerful entity, there is only one in Heavenly Heritage City, and that is the dominator of the city. The city lord of Heavenly Heritage City. The surrounding space suddenly vibrated as if about to collapse. Looking towards the source of the vibration, a towering giant 9 Zhang tall, leading a group of giants over 5 Zhang strides across the land, approaching. Just by appearance, the 9 Zhang giant is almost catching up to a true ancient giant. But his facial features and profile are indistinguishable from humans. He's a half-giant. The 9 Zhang half-giant, accompanied by 7 other generals, created void cracks in the space with their steps, approaching swiftly. He glanced at conquering heaven general whose chest had exploded, half of his neck sliced, and whose dharma was damaged. His eyes showed a deep regret. Then he looked towards Jang Fan, eyes brimming with coldness. Not going to release him yet. Conquering heaven general came to his senses and quickly said, Jang Fan, this is our city lord of Heavenly Heritage City, a supreme expert of the 5 phases realm. Equivalent to your magic cultivators, Heavenly Human 5 declines Great Venerate. His words, it's needless to explain their significance, right? In any province, the words of a Heavenly Human 5 declines Great Venerate are akin to imperial decree. Daring to defy them, the few are even fewer. Had it been before, Jang Fan might have had reservations. But knowing his destined end, Jang Fan became fearless. He laughed heartily. Appearing neither sooner nor later, coincidentally at the time this beast is about to be executed. City Lord of Heavenly Heritage, you can't bear to lose this beast, eh? The City Lord of Heavenly Heritage City, hands behind his back, looked down at Jang Fan indifferently, saying, In my Heavenly Heritage City, it's not your place to decide. As his voice fell, it suppressed Jang Fan to immobility, taking this opportunity. Conquering Heaven General painfully pulled the purple sword from his neck. Then, despite the severe pain, he tore off the 9 dragon demon tripod clinging to him, skin and flesh ripping away. Relieved with a flash, he appeared behind the City Lord of Heavenly Heritage City, eyes alight with surprise, saying, Many thanks to the City Lord for the rescue. The City Lord of Heavenly Heritage City nodded slightly. His gaze towards Jang Fan grew increasingly dignified and indifferent. No one can run wild in my Heavenly Heritage City. As his words fell, the authority in his eyes doubled. Already immobilized by suppression, Jang Fan suddenly felt as if several giant cities weighed upon him. His body emitted sounds of unbearable strain. His knees bent continuously. The City Lord of Heavenly Heritage intends to make him kneel. Jang Fan had come with the spirits of Kayang City to demand blood debt from Heavenly Heritage City. If he kneels, where does that leave the spirits? 3 phases, open. Jang Fan gritted his teeth, holding on, the veins on his neck twisted. 3 divine images were summoned in succession, forcibly resisting the City Lord of Heavenly Heritage City's pressure. A body refiner too, and has cultivated to the peak of the golden body realm. The City Lord of Heavenly Heritage City appeared slightly surprised. Throughout Central Earth's 9 provinces, body refiners are a very rare group. To refine the physique to the pinnacle of the golden body realm is even rarer. Only their half-giants, leveraging the bloodline of ancient giants, have it relatively easier. But in this era, only about 100 generals have reached the peak of the golden body realm. Unexpectedly, apart from their half-giants, someone else could cultivate the physique to such a level. He pondered briefly, saying, Considering your rare talent in body refinement, I'll offer you a path. How about joining my Heavenly Heritage City? I will find a way to cultivate you to the Dharma image realm, one day help you break into the divinity transformation venerable realm. Thus, you would become the sole dual cultivation wielder in Central Earth. His eyes showed a trace of anticipation. There have been figures who achieved dual cultivation of body and magic to the venerable level. But each one was a prominent figure in history, renowned for their era, astounding for eternity. Jang Fan's physique was cultivated to the pinnacle of the golden body. His cultivation reached a torifous nascent soul. Possibilities of becoming a dual cultivation venerable. If he could let his son control a dual cultivation venerable and have him swear allegiance, he could confidently hand over Heavenly Heritage City to his son. Jang Fan laughed, full of sarcasm. Joining a group of cannibalistic beasts? I can't do it, the city lord of Heavenly Heritage City said plainly. Who said Kayang City's incident was orchestrated by our conquering Heaven General? Is there evidence? Still want to deny. Jang Fan produced the 4.5 giants, shouting, Tell them who was responsible for the incident in the 7 cities of Heavenly Abyss. The 4.5 giants gazed at the nearby city lord of Heavenly Heritage, soul trembling. Tremblingly said, I don't know. The city lord of Heavenly Heritage City said indifferently, Heard that? This matter has nothing to do with us half-giants. Ziwei Fairy couldn't bear it, angrily pointed at Kayang City. What about this city? Remnants and broken bodies everywhere, if not eaten, then what? The city lord of Heavenly Heritage City, arms folded across his chest, said indifferently, You magic cultivators often fight amongst yourselves, isn't that common? As for the missing limbs, maybe it was wild dogs. Not our Heavenly Heritage City's fault. Ziwei Fairy gritted her teeth, eyes filled with anger. I thought as the city lord of Heavenly Heritage, you would at least have some fairness and objectivity. Turns out, you're just like them. The city lord of Heavenly Heritage City narrowed his eyes, a hint of coldness in his gaze. Ziwei Fairy, you're the heir of Star Mountain, now representing Star Mountain. Some words shouldn't be spoken lightly, they could impact the alliance between both sides. With evidence, I'll uphold justice for the spirits of Kayang City. Without evidence, remain silent. As soon as the words fell, an old voice, accompanied by coughs, came from above Kayang City. It was that old woman they had rescued. She had already awakened on the journey here. Witnessing Jang Fan risking everything, about to seek justice for the tragic victims of several cities. But unexpectedly, the city lord of Heavenly Heritage would rather damage the city's name to protect that beast, so she stepped forward. I, the city lord of Kayang City, can testify. Jang Fan's expression slightly changed. He and Ziwei Fairy had already reminded her on the way not to show herself. She is a witness to the atrocities of the conquering Heaven General. When the Great Wine Sacrifice and Star Mountain Lord arrive, she'll be called to testify. Stepping out now only gives the enemy a chance to silence her. Ziwei Fairy hurriedly flew over, whispering, Senior, don't say anything. The old woman coughed blood, waved her hand, and said hoarsely, I know I shouldn't have come out, but I can't stand by and watch the spirits of Kayang City's massacre being slandered, saying they died from mutual killing, claiming their severed limbs were leftovers from wild dogs. The old woman cradled her head. Scenes akin to hell appeared in her mind, tears streaming from her eyes. She angrily stared at the conquering Heaven General, pointing at him from afar, and cried. It was him who suddenly went mad and stormed into Kayang City. He laughed as he crushed groups of commoners like ants underfoot. Martial artists who resisted him were eaten alive bite by bite. He spared neither the elderly nor children. No matter how they begged or screamed, it was useless. I guarded Kayang City for 10 years, and overnight it turned into a living hell. As soon as I close my eyes, all I see are their screams. And now, they're telling me they deserved their deaths. How can I endure this? Tears streamed down the old woman's face, and she resentfully exclaimed, Heavenly Remnant City Lord, do you have anything to say? The entire venue fell silent. Everyone turned to the ruler of Heavenly Remnant City. He was the one to decide the fate of the conquering Heaven General. Heavenly Remnant City Lord looked indifferent. The tragedy of Kayang City didn't ruffle him. He calmly eyed the hysterical old woman and softly said, Such noise! With that said, his figure suddenly vanished. Jang Fan's expression drastically changed, and he shouted urgently, Senior, get out of the way! The old woman revealed a grim smile. From the moment she showed herself, she knew what she would face. But she still clung to hope. Hope that the leader of the half-giants would show some mercy after knowing the process of the living hell. Alas, she overestimated the Heavenly Remnant City Lord. In the next moment, her world spun violently, the ground drew further away, then rapidly fell back down, hitting with a harsh thud. Her vision went black, engulfed in eternal darkness. In her daze, she heard Ziwei Fairy's sobs and Jang Fan's furious roar. You beasts! Jang Fan's eyes reddened, his fists clenched tightly. That senior just wanted to clear the names of the fallen compatriots. She was grief-stricken, her heart torn. But all she got was a cold dismissal as noise, and her body in scattered pieces. At this moment, Jang Fan lost his last shred of hope in the half-giants. They shouldn't be considered as part of Central Earth's beings. Each and every one of them deserves to die. Heavenly Remnant City Lord turned indifferently towards Jang Fan and said coldly, "Though you're talented, since you're unwilling to join our Heavenly Remnant City, then you should accompany her, go together." In the next instant, Jang Fan resisted against his imposing 3 elephants, all of which shattered. The next to shatter would be Jang Fan himself. But having escaped his pressure for a while now, how could Jang Fan be unprepared? From his sleeve fell a ignited wish paper. Jang Fan's eyes brimmed with icy coldness, and he shouted coldly, "Heavenly Remnant City Lord, retreat 80,000 miles." He wanted to exact vengeance for the spirits of Kayang City, for the unjustly killed Kayang City Lord. He also wanted Heavenly Remnant City Lord to taste the agony of compatriots dying tragically. Heavenly Remnant City Lord was slightly startled, then his eyes narrowed. Wish paper, used against a 5 phases realm half-giant? He shook his head, his eyes filled with indifference. At his level, he almost touched the presence of laws. Using Confucianism's wish paper to affect him, the cost would be unimaginable. Throughout Central Earth, only Xingyuan Venerable's grand aura might suffice to wish onto him. And even then, it's hard to wish for something that could hurt or kill him devastatingly. It might at most create some insignificant trouble. As for the Jang Fan here, even if he had 100 lives, it wouldn't be enough for wish paper to drain his life force. However, what finally changed Heavenly Remnant City Lord's expression was seeing Jang Fan age and youth, youth and age. After rapidly shifting back and forth dozens of times, the wish paper activated. A mysterious force encapsulated Heavenly Remnant City, transporting it away. Heavenly Remnant City Lord's eyes focused. How could this be possible? He tried to resist, but couldn't break through the mysterious force. Now he finally realized the seriousness and said in a deep voice, "Kill Jang Fan." Just as he finished speaking, he was forcibly transported 80,000 miles away. With his strength, it would take at least a stick of incense time to return. Jang Fan only had 2 wish papers left, forced to use one. The consumption of spacetime dust reached a staggering 200 beads, more than when wishing for Venerable Lianjing's domain to recover. But as long as he could make the half-giants pay for blood, it was worth it all. He lifted his eyes, looking at the group of Dharma Image Realm powerhouses ahead. Then at the conquering Heaven General hiding behind them, his eyes swirling with murderous intent. "You all deserve to die. HMPH?" The Vice City Lord's face was icy, coldly snorting. "Aren't you being too arrogant? My father left, but there are still 9 Dharma Image Realm generals. And haven't you run out of moves?" A hint of viciousness appeared in his eyes. His tone turned threatening. "You all heard my father's order just now. Kill him. Ensure he dies with nothing left." Ziwei Fairy's face changed, urgently shouted, "Jang Fan, run!" Jang Fan was forced to use the Black Buddha scripture, indicating he no longer had the strength to face the Dharma Image Realm head-on. Now facing 9 Dharma Image Realms simultaneously, how could he fight? Even escaping would be difficult. Jang Fan didn't leave. He took a deep breath, a heart of thunder formed rapidly beating in his chest. He still reserved one strike. Under the instigation of the heavenly abyss heart, Black Sky Eyes, Undying Blade, and Hell Lotus could unleash a divinity transformation Venerable's strike, sufficient to inflict harm on a Dharma Image Realm half-giant. But he decided not to do so, because Heavenly Thunder 6 parts still hadn't exerted its ultimate power. That is, unity of 6 parts. According to the cultivation technique, when Heavenly Thunder 6 parts unify, the power rivals Heaven-level technique. The Heaven-level technique, Day and Sword Array, even at small success, easily has the strength to slay a heavenly person decline. The power of the 6 parts united is only stronger. Today, even if he perishes here, he will make the half-giants pay an unbearable price. The young city lord faintly sensed something was amiss. His expression darkened as he shouted, "Act quickly, don't give him a chance to strike." Except for the severely injured conquering Heaven General, the other 7 half-giant Dharma Image Realm cultivators all made their move. Some roared, some sneered, and others had a grim expression. Together they charged at Jang Fan. This was almost all the Dharma Image Realm cultivators in Heavenly Heritage City. In terms of numbers, they were double that of the Divinity Transformation Venerables in Taikang State. If any Divinity Transformation realm were in their place, faced with their combined siege, they would surely flee in defeat. Jang Fan also began to move. His eyes swirled with 2 arcs of thunder light. A thunder lotus hung beneath his feet. A thunder dragon coiled around his body. A heart formed of condensed thunderbolt throbbed at his chest. A thunder sword materialized behind him. The Tai Kai Yin-Yang diagram shimmered above him. This thunder path technique, lacking completion for 800 years, finally had someone accomplish the 6 parts. Today, the 6 parts united as one, with all 6 Thunder Dao divine powers displayed. Something mysterious sensed far from the deep heavens. The sky suddenly grew dark, thunderbolts roiled and surged. At a glance, the sky transformed into a terrifying, multicolored thunder pool. Each thunderbolt held the power of a trial faced during the nascent soul calamity. Yet the thunder pool before them had well over 1,000 bolts. Even the Venerate of heavenly person decline couldn't withstand the might of the 10,000 square thunder pool. But this was just the beginning. With a sudden crack, the entire thunder pool plummeted down. They converged around Jang Fan, continuously condensing. In the blink of an eye, he became a 10-jang tall thunderbolt giant. Tai Kai Yin-Yang diagram atop his head, eyes containing thunder arcs, chest holding a multicolored thunder heart, clutching a thunder sword, standing on a lotus, encircled by flying dragons. As if the legendary thunder god descended to earth. Even more unbelievable was, within the thunderbolt giant, Jang Fan's aura climbed frantically. Surging past the 9-aperture nascent soul, reaching the divinity transformation venerable realm. A divine ring even appeared at the back of his head. 6 parts united, triggering a powerful avatar that fused with Jang Fan. The price was the thunder path power stored in his heavenly abyss heart, consumed at an astonishing rate. It could only last for 5 breaths. Jang Fan felt an unmatched strength, as if leaping from the ground to the clouds, able to overlook the vast earth. Yet there was no time to savor the taste of the divinity transformation realm. Jang Fan's gaze locked onto the face of the bewildered conquering heaven general, with a thought. With a crack, the 10-jang tall, thunderous form vanished from its place like instantaneous movement. The young city lord snapped back, his expression changed dramatically, urgently shouting, "Protect the conquering heaven general!" Several generals awoke as if from a dream, hastily flickering towards the conquering heaven general. One half-giant in Dharma image realm, slowest to react, quickly followed the others to assist. But just as he moved, his soul tightened suddenly, countless chains binding him. He lost all connection with his body. To his surprise, Jang Fan, who apparently charged at conquering heaven general, instead struck a counter move, flickering before him. The thunder soared in his palm from top to bottom, pierced through his heavenly spirit cover, reaching the chest. Destructive thunderbolt obliterated him internally, scorching heat causing his body to swell violently. With a loud explosion, this Dharma image half-giant couldn't even manage a scream, only his lower half remained. A soul mingled with black and transparent hues, further bound by chains, received into the ghost soul crystal. All this happened in a flash. The rescuing Dharma image realm cultivators then noticed the anomaly behind them. They roared in unison, "Marshal of Death!" They could hardly believe their eyes. The death of a Dharma just like that. They had been comrades for decades and even centuries, regarding each other as close as brothers. The sudden death of death was unbearable for them. The young city lord's eyes burned furiously as he roared, "Kill him!" Boom. Just as they made a move, the 9-dragon demon tripod left on the ground moved unexpectedly, brutally striking a nearby Dharma image realm cultivator. Mysterious demon liquid instantly adhered them together, robbing them of mobility or the ability to dodge. The young city lord's expression drastically changed, shouting, "Protect him!" But it was a step too late. 2 horrifying thunder beams shot forth savagely. "Ah, help me!" The Dharma image realm cultivator was terrified. He hastily activated his Dharma, trying to shield against the deadly thunder path attack. "Soul-capturing lock!" A cold and cruel voice rang out, leaving the Dharma image realm cultivator immobile. The thunder beam mercilessly burned through his skull, his soul forcibly extracted, sealed into the ghost soul crystal. "No! Marshal of Reversed Heart!" The half-giant Dharma image realm cultivators were thoroughly enraged. The young city lord roared, "Unleash your Dharma, don't give him an opening." Half-giants in Dharma image realm released their Dharma with murderous intent they charged. Jang Fan coldly said, "Already heartbroken for just killing 2 of you. Don't worry, this is just the beginning." He took a deep breath and threw the Hell Lotus from his palm. Boom. The explosion of a divinity transformation strike. How terrifying. Even though the half-giants had unleashed their dharma, they couldn't escape the spread, suffering some mark on their bodies. The young city lord glanced at the injury on his arm, his eyes filled with murderous intent, shouting, "He can't hold out, leave him alive. I want him to be unable to live or die." After several attacks, Jang Fan's thunderous form diminished greatly. The power of thunder and lightning within his heavenly abyss heart was nearly depleted. But it was enough. Jang Fan glanced at their injuries, coldly uttering 4 words. "Flawless domain." The divine ring behind his head faded and before disappearing activated the domain. An invisible ripple swept forth. The young city lord's expression changed, whispering, "Be careful, he's activated the domain." What kind of defying thunder path technique was this? It could even temporarily break through to divinity transformation realm, and even possess the divine ring. They were all shocked. The domain of magic cultivation was a dangerous thing. Some supportive ones might be manageable, but some domineering domains were terrifying. Nevertheless, as the domain swept past their bodies, it didn't cause any dangerous harm. The young city lord was momentarily stunned, doubting. His peripheral caught a glimpse, noticing the wound on his arm was inexplicably expanding. In a blink, it spread to the entire arm. Blood gushed, bones fractured, meridians snapped. The most shocking was the wound accelerated towards his shoulder, soon spreading to neck and head. He inhaled sharply. Without hesitation, he tore off the dismembered arm. Only then did he halt the scar's spread. But not all Dharma Image Realm could be as lucky, able to sever an arm for survival. Image Realm Cultivator had a thumb-length wound on his forehead struck by the Hell Lotus. Under powerful self-healing, the wound closed to the width of a hair, but under the influence of the flawless domain, the wound expanded like a dam crack under a torrent, rapidly widening. By the time the half-giant of the Dharma Image Realm sensed the pain, the wound had already spread to his nose. His face changed drastically, the bloodline of the ancient giant within him surged, attempting to counter the flawless domain with the strong healing power of the ancient giant. The spread of the wound indeed slowed, but it did not stop. In the next instant, the wound penetrated his skull. Blood and fluids gushed out. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but his skull exploded on the spot. The headless body fell with a crash. A half-black, half-transparent soul hurriedly fled from the body into the void. But before it got far, chains appeared on its surface, binding it. Immediately after, it was captured into the ghost soul crystal. The eyes of the deputy city lord widened, his heart seemingly bleeding. This was a Dharma Image Realm. Another one had fallen. He shouted in grief and anger, "Stop it right now!" Jang Fan's expression was indifferent, saying, "Heartache." "It's too late." The thunderbolt body around him had dissipated, and the divine ring at the back of his head had vanished without a trace. His aura fell from the divinity transformation venerable back to the atorifious nascent soul. He couldn't even retract the flawless domain if he wanted to. As the domain erupted, except for the 2-phase and 3-phase Dharma Image Realm, who successfully countered the domain with the strong ancient giant bloodline. The 1-phase half-giants could only sever their hands like their deputy city lord to survive. However, not all the Dharma Image Realm could be decisive. A half-giant of the 1-phase with an abdomen wound hesitated for a moment, allowing the wound to spread across his entire body, and then he exploded. His soul could not escape either, captured by Jang Fan into the ghost soul crystal, following the pattern. "Black Demon General!" The surviving Dharma Image Realms cried out in anguish. Another close companion fell before them, looking at the fragmented flesh and blood scattered everywhere, and the 4 disfigured Dharma Image Realm corpses. Tears glistened in their eyes, unable to accept it as reality. The deputy city lord felt even more as if his heart was being torn apart. In just 5 breaths, he lost 4 Dharma Image Realm. These were his future right-hand men. To protect a conquering heaven general, they lost 4 entire Dharma Image Realm. A tinge of regret rose in his heart. If only they handed over the conquering heaven general, none of this would have happened. Now, even if they tore Jang Fan apart limb by limb, turning him into minced meat, they could not recover from Heavenly Heritage City's immense loss. The other Dharma Image Realms were also filled with confusion. Was it worth it to protect a general who committed monstrous crimes, resulting in 4 innocent generals' deaths? The conquering heaven general was also stunned. The bloody scene before him left his mind blank. He never imagined this would evolve into such a horrific situation. A massive sense of guilt struck his heart. He regretted it. If he knew the consequences were this severe, he would never have gone mad in the 7 cities of the heavenly abyss. But no matter what could be said now, it was too late. He had already become a criminal in Heavenly Heritage City. However, for him personally, things were not over. Suddenly, space fluctuated behind him. The conquering Heaven General snapped back to reality, turning his head to see Jang Fan wielding the purple sword, appearing coldly behind him like a god of slaughter. He was terrified, crying urgently, "Save me! Someone save me!" He wanted to run, to hide, to live. But the 9-dragon demon tripod suddenly smashed down, heavily pinning him to the ground. Already heavily injured, how could he escape? He crawled towards the deputy city lord and others, using his hands and feet. Puff! A purple light swept over, severing one of his legs. "Ah!" The conquering Heaven General let out a miserable scream. Jang Fan's voice, cold as if from hell, drifted in. "Did you not like emulating your ancestors? Get up!" As he spoke, he slashed off another leg with the sword. The harrowing screams echoed throughout Heavenly Heritage City. The heavily wounded conquering Heaven General did not die under the flawless domain because Jang Fan did it intentionally. This kind of beast was not worthy of a swift death. Did you not like the grand hunt? Did you not like cannibalism? Continue eating then. Puff! Another sword from Jang Fan severed his last arm. "Ah!" The conquering Heaven General wailed in agony. The Deputy City Lord and the other Dharma image realms snapped back to reality, collectively furious. The Deputy City Lord roared with his eyes cracking wide. "Scum! If you dare kill him, I swear I will grind your bones to dust and make you suffer in perpetuity." The response was Jang Fan, stabbing the purple sword into the conquering Heaven General's forehead. The cold blade made the conquering Heaven General panic and scream, begging, "Zhang Dao, you don't kill me. I know my faults, I beg you for a chance to redeem myself. How about this, let me die in the ancient giant's battlefield, okay?" Jang Fan said indifferently, "No need. I won't associate with a beast who eats his own kind." He forcefully thrust the purple sword, penetrating his skull, stabbing inward. The imminent death made the conquering Heaven General's entire body cold. Panic-stricken, he screamed, "Deputy City Lord, what are you waiting for? Save me. Otherwise, I'll reveal that secret and we all perish together." Upon hearing this, the Deputy City Lord's expression changed. He hastily shouted, "Spare his life. Don't kill him, I'll decide and let you leave Heavenly Heritage City." Jang Fan laughed up at the sky, laughing sorrowfully. "If I feared death, would I have come to Heavenly Heritage City? I came to claim this blood debt for the souls of Kayang City and the 7 cities of the Heavenly Abyss." The Deputy City Lord gritted his teeth. Suppressing the raging killing intent, he said deeply, "I deeply regret the innocent souls of Kayang City. How about this? I'll invite my father to Central State to ask the great Bodhisattva to come and perform transcendence for their souls. This way their grievances will be appeased. How does that sound?" Jang Fan laughed with trembling shoulders, his eyes growing colder, saying, "No need. The blood of the conquering Heaven General is the best transcendent scripture." With that said, he forcefully pushed. With a squelch, the purple sword pierced through the conquering Heaven General's enormous skull from front to back. Ah, the conquering Heaven General let out a harrowing wail, his remaining torso shaking violently, trying to struggle. But his limbs were gone. He could only watch helplessly as Jang Fan's long sword swept, slicing his skull in two. The conquering Heaven General's wailing abruptly stopped. The trembling torso also slowly came to a halt, but this was not the end. Jang Fan raised his hand and grabbed. The soul-capturing lock pulled the conquering Heaven General's soul free. He coldly stared at the struggling soul body, chillingly saying, "Don't think about entering the ghost soul crystal." A little black bottle appeared before him. Inside, soul flames simmered. Jang Fan said coldly, "From now on, live in purgatory." With his palms smacking, the conquering Heaven General's soul wailed in terror, being stuffed into the bottle. The fire specialized in torturing souls immediately caused the conquering Heaven General to scream non-stop. The taste was like being thrown into a frying pot, painfully penetrating his heart, making him wish for death. The terrible thing was this soul flame would not burn him to death. He would live in it for eternity. "Conquering Heaven General?" The Deputy City Lord's eyes turned blood red, his killing intent soaring, furiously shouting, "Kill him, tear him to pieces." Godmother Jang Fan wielded his sword, laughed to the sky, not only without fear, but instead his eyes grew even more crazed. He took out the last wish paper and shouted, "Restore all thunder path power." He wanted to launch 6-in-1 again. Finally, to step into the divinity transformation realm one more time. Take as many as you can. Seeing this, the young city lord's pupils shrank and he yelled, "Stop him!" No need for reminders. The most powerful among them was the three-phase half-giant, whose eyes turned cold. He took a deep breath and then suddenly exhaled forcefully. This was similar to the sound wave technique performed by the previous 4.5 giants. Jang Fan's wish was still in the air, but the terrifying sound wave arrived instantly. This was an attack from a heavenly human 3 declines divinity transformation. Jang Fan, who had exhausted his nascent soul power, could neither resist nor dodge. In an instant, the sound wave arrived before him, shrouding him with the destructive power of pulverizing him. Jang Fan sighed inwardly, still too late. Yet he was satisfied. Before dying, he took away as many as 5 Dharma Image Realm half-giants, not a loss. He smiled, awaiting death. Crack! But just as he felt his body was about to shatter, a mirror appeared in front of him out of nowhere. The sound wave hit the mirror only to be bounced back. The three-phase half-giant was caught off guard, hit by his own sound wave, stumbling back several steps. He looked around with a solemn expression and asked deeply, "Who?" Suddenly, a huge mirror appeared above his head. A middle-aged woman, elegantly dressed in a luxurious black gown, flew out from the mirror. Behind her was a divine ring with 4 flame marks. Upon appearing, she exuded terrifying intimidation. Her phoenix eyes filled with rage, coldly stared at the three-phase half-giant and spoke coldly. "Touch my son!" The words still floated as her image vanished instantly. The three-phase half-giant was shocked and hurriedly said, "Venerable Xianxia, please let me explain." Slash, his head flew upwards. A rimless sharp mirror mercilessly sliced through his neck, severing his head. Blood spurted out like a pillar from his neck. The woman in the black gown said coldly, face expressionless, "Explain down there." If she hadn't arrived in time, Jang Fan would have already been dead. Could she easily spare this three-phase half-giant? Jang Fan was momentarily stunned, looking at the familiar figure, feeling a warm flow surge within. It was Venerable Xianxia who crossed states to save him. Logically, such a major event in the heavenly abyss 7 cities should have been attended first by the local leaders, such as the Great Wine Sacrifice, Star Mountain Lord. But Venerable Xianxia arrived at Heavenly Heritage City even before them. It could be imagined that she spared no expense in rushing to arrive before the local experts. Originally, Jang Fan had resisted calling her godmother, but at this moment he felt an indescribable warmth. The only elder woman in the world who would risk everything for him was Venerable Xianxia. "Godmother!" Jang Fan called with a smile. Venerable Xianxia flashed over, first examining Jang Fan, finding him very weak but uninjured. Only then did she sternly ask, "Who allowed you to come to Heavenly Heritage City? The territory of the half-giants? Was it somewhere that the magic cultivation of the human clan could easily venture?" Even in the heavenly state, Venerable Xianxia had heard of the many crimes of the half-giants. How did such a cautious person like Jang Fan end up here? Jang Fan didn't speak, but instead looked up at the Kayang city embedded in the city wall. Venerable Xianxia followed his gaze, her pupils constricted. The whole city filled with fragmented corpses, and scenes of grotesque consumption even made her, a heavenly person for decline, cover her mouth. She was shocked and said, "What's going on here?" Jang Fan's voice was deep, a Dharma image half-giant imitating their ancestors' great hunt. "This city called Kayang City is just one among the victimized cities." "What?" Venerable Xianxia's eyes immediately filled with an unbearable murderous intent, glaring coldly at the young city lord. No wonder Jang Fan ventured here. With his character, encountering such a catastrophe that angers both gods and humans, how could he stand by and do nothing? The young city lord felt all his hair stand on end. This person in front was the renowned heavenly person 4 decline great cultivator from young Emperor Mountain, Venerable Xianxia. As a young city lord, he might not be acknowledged by her. He urgently said, "Please calm your anger, Senior Xianxia. The disruptive half-giant has already been brought to justice." "Has he?" Venerable Xianxia looked down, discovering the 5 corpses of the half-giant Dharma image realm on the ground, her pupils constricted. She looked at Jang Fan in disbelief and asked, "You killed them?" Jang Fan looked at the remaining 3 half-giant Dharma image realms, including the young city lord, showing regret. "I regret my strength was insufficient, unable to completely eradicate them." The young city lord's eyes filled with hatred. This bastard, having killed half of Heavenly Heritage City's half-giant Dharma image realms, dared to complain about not killing enough. Venerable Xianxia was stunned for a moment, then recovered and widened her eyes. She took a deep breath and asked, "How?" How did you do it? Last time in Hunyuan State, Jang Fan didn't have the strength to face and defeat a heavenly person one declined venerable directly. How long has it been since then, and he could single-handedly kill 5 half-giant Dharma image realms in their stronghold? Is he really a godson or a monster? Jang Fan showed a reminiscent expression and said, "It was a cultivation technique," recalling the feeling of momentarily breaking through to divinity transformation. The soul strong enough to sense everything, the body moving akin to instantaneous movement, and the wonderful taste of domain controlling all things. It made him nostalgic. In just 5 breaths, he felt he had transcended the current life level, became the master of all things. After 5 breaths ended, returning to the nascent soul realm, he felt burdened, his senses sealed heavily. The stark contrast made Jang Fan even more eager for divinity transformation. "Cultivation technique?" Venerable Jing exclaimed. What kind of cultivation technique was so extraordinary that it enabled an atorifious nascent soul to slay 5 half-giant Dharma image realms? However, now was not the time for idle chatter on this matter. She grasped Jang Fan's arm and said, "Let's leave returning ruins state first. That heavenly remnant city lord is not someone easy to deal with." As a top-tier figure in Central Earth, she knew somewhat about the character of the heavenly remnant city lord. Jang Fan killed so many Dharma image realms of Heavenly Heritage City, as if he poked a hole in the sky. Even if he returned to Taikang State, it wouldn't matter. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord would certainly pursue him to Taikang State and demand an answer. The only option was to return to Young Emperor Mountain, where the Heavenly Remnant City Lord might hesitate. The young City Lord panicked, blocked them, and said deeply, "Senior Jing, does your Young Emperor Mountain want to oppose our Heavenly Heritage City for Jang Fan?" Jang Fan caused such a huge disaster by killing so many Dharma image realms and thinks he can just leave. Since Heavenly Heritage City was established, there hadn't been such a shocking event where someone killed into the city, slaying 5 Dharma image realms. This matter was simply earth-shattering. The entire half-giant clan was outraged. Venerable Jing, and not even a heavenly human 5 decline great venerate in person, would be allowed to take Jang Fan away. Lord indifferently, she looked at Jang Fan and said, "Come with me back to Young Emperor Mountain first." With the protection of Young Emperor Mountain, the Heavenly Remnant City Lord could do nothing to Jang Fan. Moreover, would the Heavenly Remnant City Lord have the nerve to spread the scandal that happened in the 7 cities of Heavenly Abyss to make the Heavenly State aware? Heavenly State is the center of the 9 states, unlike Taikang State. There exist some forbidden beings there. Should they learn of the deeds by the half-giants, it's likely they would cross states to annihilate the entire race. Jang Fan nodded, temporarily setting aside his worries. With his foster mother safeguarding him, he could indeed leave returning ruins state alive. However, just as they were preparing to leave, the ground suddenly shook tremendously. At the horizon, a black line shot forward rapidly. Taking a closer look, it was not a string, but a void fissure created by a powerful body moving swiftly. Jang Fan had only seen this phenomenon from one person before. That was the 5-star giant king. Only such frighteningly powerful bodies could shatter the void. Venerable Jing sensed the immense pressure as well. Her expression changed and she shouted, "Let's hurry!" She dared not linger, summoned a mirror and took Jang Fan within. However, a dignified cold snort like an arrow pierced through the sky. "You cannot leave!" With a bang, the surrounding space shook violently. Venerable Jing, in the midst of instantaneous movement, was forced out of the void. Her face turned slightly pale and blood dripped from her fingertips. Yet Jang Fan, under her protection, remained unscathed. She shielded Jang Fan behind her, coldly watching the rapidly approaching void fissure. When countless fissures spread to the front, a shadow 9 feet tall suddenly appeared in her view. It was precisely the Heavenly Remnant City Lord. Hands behind his back, he slightly frowned. "Venerable Jing, what brings you to my Heavenly Remnant City?" He was somewhat puzzled. There was no association between Heavenly Remnant City and Young Emperor Mountain. Why had the mother of the young emperor come to Heavenly Remnant City? "Father!" The young city lord cried out in agony. "Look!" He pointed to the ground littered with corpses. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord swept his gaze across, his massive figure trembling abruptly, hardly believing his eyes. 6 Dharma Image Realm generals, all dead. This must be a lie, right? Even in Heavenly State, the fall of a divinity transformation venerable is a monumental event. It's an enormous loss, hard for any state to bear. Moreover, the half-giants of Heavenly Remnant City are few, and birthing a Dharma image realm is far harder than nurturing a divinity transformation venerable. To save the conquering Heaven General, he would rather sacrifice Heavenly Remnant City's reputation. Now, the conquering Heaven General he had defended at all costs is dead, and 5 more generals dead as well. One of them was a half-giant at the 3 Phases realm, second only to him in strength. The extent of the loss was hard for him to believe. He had been away for less than half the time needed to brew tea. What happened here? The young city lord tearfully pointed at Jang Fan, filled with resentment. It was him. He cultivated an evil cultivation technique, temporarily breaking through to divinity transformation, and killed them. What? The Heavenly Remnant City Lord incredulously looked at Jang Fan. An atorifious nascent soul, slaughtering over half of Heavenly Remnant City's Dharma image realm. This was equivalent to single-handedly wiping out all the divinity transformation venerables of Taikang State. Who would dare believe such a thing? His palm trembled, looking at Jang Fan with an increasingly intense change. Disbelief, regret, fury, hatred, finally brewing into terrible pressure. Spurt. Jang Fan couldn't withstand the pressure, spitting out a mouthful of blood on the spot. This, and Venerable Xianxia taking the brunt of it. Venerable Xianxia's face was also slightly pale, a hint of pain showing as she spoke in a deep voice. You half-giants are brutal beyond measure. My son killing them is acting in accordance with the heavens. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord, anger uncontained, thunderously shouted. Silence! Each general of our Heavenly Remnant City is forged through countless ordeals. Could they be compared to ants from Kayang City? Not to mention the mere death of a few cities. Even all the Dharma cultivator ants of the 7 cities of Heavenly Abyss cannot compare to a single finger of the conquering Heaven General. Boom! He took a step towards Jang Fan and Venerable Xianxia. A terrifying killing intent erupted all over him. An almost crazed fury surged in his eyes. Moreover, this little ant didn't just kill the conquering Heaven General, but also 5 other generals. Even if he dies 1,000 times, 10,000 times, it's insufficient to atone. Under his roar, Venerable Xianxia's body trembled violently, blood constantly flowing from her mouth. A 5 Phases realm half-giant, comparable to a heavenly human 5 declines great venerate. How could she resist that? Moreover, the opponent was so furious. Her identity from young Emperor Mountain was useless. Today seemed bleak, yet she remained blocking Jang Fan, calmly saying, Son, don't be afraid. Foster Mother will protect you for a while. Think, break into divinity transformation again, take down as many beasts as you can. Foster Mother will aid you one last time. Jang Fan felt a warmth in his eyes. These words were too familiar to him. He gritted his teeth, stepping in front of Venerable Xianxia, saying, Foster Mother, don't be foolish. Keep your life, kill more ancient giants, fewer tragedies for Kayang City, that's what matters. Then glared at the Heavenly Remnant City Lord. He grinned, revealing blood-stained teeth. His smile was chilling. I only regret that I'm too weak, unable to wipe out you half-giants. If I, Jang Fan, attain enlightenment one day, I will correct the wrongs and purge the filth, ensuring there's no place for you half-giants in Central Earth, no longer poisoning the lives of returning ruined state. The resolute words echoed powerfully. The half-giants present felt chills down their spines. This was the voice they feared most. They realized what they had done, knew how many felt the same. But with the Heavenly Remnant City keeping watch, protected by the sage. No one dared to speak their mind before. Today, Jang Fan defied death, publicly swearing to the heavens, stirring inexplicable panic among them. The young city lord's heart pounded. He was scared. Jang Fan now possessed the power to slay Dharma image half-giants. Given time, he would eventually reach that day, and then would there be any path for half-giants? He hastily said, Father, kill him. Reduce him to nothingness, never to reincarnate. Originally full of killing intent, the Heavenly Remnant City Lord's eyes escalated to extreme levels after Jang Fan's words. Without hesitation, he stomped towards Jang Fan, intending to crush this hidden danger into a bloody pulp. However, at this moment, a fiery figure like a butterfly flew swiftly, landing in front of Jang Fan. She spread her arms wide, using her slender body to block that terrifying giant foot. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord's rationale remained. He could kill anyone but the heir of Star Mountain. Otherwise, the Star Mountain Lord would not let it rest. Move aside. He halted his foot, spoke coldly. Fairy's mask was very calm. Heavenly Remnant City Lord, the matter has happened. Killing Jang Fan is useless. Why don't I repay his debt for him? The Heavenly Remnant City Lord said coldly. You, Ziwei Fairy gently nodded. She pointed to the tragic state of Kaiyang City and said, Do you think, after this, the alliance between Star Mountain and Heavenly Remnant City will continue? The Heavenly Remnant City Lord's face sank, and he said nothing, because the answer was clear. No, the Star Mountain Lord, no matter how much he wishes to maintain overall stability and unite with Heavenly Remnant City. It's impossible to marry his only true disciple into a race of cannibals, unless Ziwei Fairy herself insists on the marriage. He closed his eyes, weighing the pros and cons. As a leader of a group, concerns of right and wrong have become rare, with more focus on interest considerations. Killing Jang Fan is satisfying, but can it recover the huge losses of Heavenly Remnant City? On the contrary, temporarily sparing Jang Fan's life could secure an alliance with Star Mountain. Previously, the alliance was an equal relationship. But now that Heavenly Remnant City's Dharma image realm losses exceed half, its power has sharply reduced, making alliance with Star Mountain a climb. If this opportunity is missed, Heavenly Remnant City will have no chance to ally with Star Mountain. The young city lord was anxious, saying, Dad, don't be bewitched by Ziwei. The marriage obtained by sacrificing 6 Dharma image realm clansmen's lives, I'd rather not have it. Besides, my interest in Ziwei Fairy is just to conquer her and show off to the cultivators I don't actually like her. It's better not to have this marriage. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord slowly opened his eyes. His foot, which was suspended in midair, silently retracted as he looked at Ziwei Fairy and said, Can you take responsibility for what you said? Ziwei Fairy glanced at the young city lord with an unbearable disgust in her eyes, but she still calmly replied, I can. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord nodded. Good, then I will temporarily spare Jang Fan's life. The day you marry my son with great pomp will be the day he leaves ruin, at the time of marriage. Ziwei Fairy frowned and said, What if you go back on your word? The Heavenly Remnant City Lord coolly said, This is already my biggest concession. You have no room to bargain. Agree or step aside. Ziwei Fairy bit her red lips slightly, pondering. Suddenly, Jang Fan's warm voice came from behind. Ziwei Fairy, are we acquaintances? Jang Fan looked deeply at Ziwei Fairy's back, swiftly pondering. Previously, the gift of starlight and the 6th grade spirit pill had already made Jang Fan find it unusual. Now she sacrifices herself again for Jang Fan, marrying into a race of cannibals. This is far more than just being acquaintances. In the world, women willing to go this far for him are few. Ziwei Fairy looked back at him and said, Never owe you again. After speaking, she said to the Heavenly Remnant City Lord, I agree. But the final word wasn't spoken before Jang Fan covered her red lips from behind. Ziwei Fairy's delicate body trembled, feeling the warmth of Jang Fan's fingers, her face rapidly turning red. Her body was gently pulled behind by Jang Fan, meeting Jang Fan's eyes filled with a smile. Even though I still can't remember who you are, thank you. Before dying, being sent off by an acquaintance isn't so lonely. Ziwei Fairy wanted to say something, but Jang Fan waved his finger. I won't let an innocent woman sacrifice herself to save me. You still have great years ahead, go find someone you love. He walked to the Heavenly Remnant City Lord and said, Your Heavenly Remnant City doesn't deserve Ziwei Fairy. Just kill me. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord's face sank, eyes showing a fierce look. So be it. His foot rose again, fiercely stepping towards Jang Fan. Venerable Jing wanted to stop him, but Jang Fan waved his hand without looking back, stopping her impulse. Venerable Jing felt a surge of sadness. Until his death, Jang Fan was still thinking about the myriad lives under the ancient giant catastrophe. A person like him, dying at the hands of half-giants, is truly unjust. Ziwei Fairy's eyes shimmered with tears, a hint of bitterness at the corner of her mouth. Someone she loved? The one she loved was right in front of her. She had to watch him die right in front of her. As she watched Jang Fan walking alone towards death, tears in her eyes finally rolled down unstoppably. She initially thought it was fate letting them meet again. It turned out, it was just for her to send Jang Fan off on his final journey. She painfully closed her eyes, only feeling that heaven played a cruel joke on her. But, at this moment, the sky suddenly darkened. Countless stars fell, converging before Ziwei Fairy into a silver-haired woman shimmering with starlight. She appeared very young, only in her 30s. Her ice-white long dress fluttered in the wind, and her silver hair gently lifted. Her features were exquisite, as if the most beautiful painter had meticulously drawn her. Her eyes were deep and stern, like 2 ancient wells. A red flame mark adorned her brow. A sense of unparalleled elegance emanated. However, such a stunning woman made it difficult to feel any disrespect, because on the back of her head was a divine ring with 5 flame marks. She was a heavenly human 5 declines great venerate. Ziwei Fairy was overjoyed and exclaimed excitedly, "Master!" The woman before her was the Star Mountain Lord, the second heavenly human 5 declines great venerate of returning ruined state. She glanced at Ziwei Fairy and confirmed she wasn't harmed, then asked in a chilling voice, "What happened here?" She had already noticed several corpses of Dharma Image Realm half-giants. A total of 6, which was more than half of Heavenly Remnant City's Dharma Image Realm. Who could kill so many Dharma Image Realm in Heavenly Remnant City? Ziwei Fairy quickly knelt down, saying, "Master, please save young Master Jiang. He's trying to seek justice for Kaiyang City, for the souls of the 7 cities of Heavenly Abyss, having slain the conquering Heaven General and others. Now Heavenly Remnant City wants to kill him for revenge. Please save him." The Star Mountain Lord's eyebrows slightly raised, falling on Jang Fan. In the ancient well-like gaze, a hint of doubt flashed. Was this done by the atorifious nascent soul? How is that possible? The Heavenly Remnant City Lord coldly snorted. "Star Mountain Lord, we don't interfere with each other's affairs. This person I must kill. You'd better weigh this carefully." Ziwei Fairy showed a pleading look. "Master Disciple begs you." The Star Mountain Lord's eyes returned to calm, coldly saying, "I don't like to meddle. Even if you beg me, it'll do no good." Hearing this, Ziwei Fairy looked desperate. Despite her expectations of her master's temperament, she hadn't anticipated such a cold refusal. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord looked at Jang Fan coldly. "Hear that? Even if the great Venerable of Magic Cultivation came, they couldn't save you. Die!" His giant foot stomped down fiercely. Mountain suddenly sent a green sword light towards the spectator, the young city lord, and 2 other Dharma Image half-giants. This was an attack from the Heavenly Human 5 declines. The young city lord and the 2 Dharma Image Realm individuals couldn't even react and were engulfed by the sword light. "What are you doing?" The Heavenly Remnant City Lord was shocked, and with a punch, he dispersed the sword light enveloping the 3. Only then did the body of the sword light reveal itself. It was actually a green spirit sword. It exuded strong spiritual pressure, clearly a top-grade spirit sword. On the sword body, there was vaguely the outline of a tree, reminiscent of the dragon pattern on the Tingshu sword. This was an intact top-grade spirit sword with a sword spirit. Just now, it briefly engulfed the young city lord and the 2 Dharma Image Realm individuals, leaving deep sword marks visible to the bone all over their bodies. If the Heavenly Remnant City Lord had reacted half a beat slower, the 3 would have been shattered to pieces. The Heavenly Remnant City Lord's face darkened, and he shouted, "Didn't you say you wouldn't interfere? Why did you save him?" The Master of Star Mountain replied indifferently, "Your Heavenly Heritage City has slaughtered 3 of the 7 cities in the Heavenly Abyss, with countless casualties. Is it not excessive for me to kill a few people from your Heavenly Heritage City as compensation? As for saving him, you kill yours, I kill mine. What does saving him have to do with it?" Ziwei Fairy secretly rejoiced. "Almost forgot, Master is quite prideful. Often self-proclaiming to be a selfish and cold woman, how could she admit she actually has a warm heart? Therefore, the more she asks Master, the less likely Master will openly save someone." Jang Fan also figured it out. This Master of Star Mountain seems somewhat contradictory. No, if saving just save, be straightforward, why the twists and turns? The Heavenly Remnant City Lord also saw the meaning of the Master of Star Mountain and spoke grimly. "Are you sure you want to be at odds with my Heavenly Heritage City?" As the words fell, an old voice came from far away, closer and closer. "Adding me to the equation?" Looking afar, a snow-white rabbit the size of a calf was rushing over from the ends of the earth. Its entire body was snow-white, its eyes full of spirit, emitting a rich and refreshing fragrance. Just smelling it made Jang Fan feel his injuries within fully healed, even his nascent soul power restored by 20%. This filled him with surprise. What is this rabbit's background? And on the rabbit's back lay a white-bearded old man in gray hemp clothing, with his head resting on a wine gourd, flushed with drunkenness. It seemed as if the words just spoken were not by him. The face of the Heavenly Remnant City Lord changed. "Forgetful Wild Elder." The young city lord and the 2 Dharma Image Realm individuals trembled visibly. Forgetful Wild Elder, a soul master who arrived from Taikang State a century ago. Back then, he was still in the nascent soul realm. In returning ruined state, he occupied a spirit mountain, lived alone as Forgetful Wild Elder, never interfering in state affairs. Last appearance was 60 years ago when he crafted a batch of spirit pills for someone. Afterwards, he went into seclusion. The world almost forgot about him. However, half a month ago, he suddenly emerged and arrived at Heavenly Heritage City. He inadvertently displayed his cultivation. The Heavenly Human 5 declines. Neither the Master of Star Mountain nor the Heavenly Remnant City Lord expected there would be another Supreme of Heavenly Human 5 declines in returning ruins state besides them. No one knows when or how Forgetful Wild Elder became a great Venerate, but his weight is undeniable. The giant white rabbit landed beside the Master of Star Mountain. Forgetful Wild Elder lay on the rabbit's back, drunkenly patting his chest. "Girl, don't be afraid, fight to the death, I'm here. Together let's kill this bastard of Heavenly Heritage City Lord." Both had been to the 7 cities of Heavenly Abyss, witnessing the hellish scenes of other cities. Towards the half-giants of Heavenly Heritage City, they were filled with killing intent. The Master of Star Mountain said calmly, "I can do it alone, no need for you." Behind her head, the divine ring flickered. The sky suddenly turned pitch black. 7 interconnected stars appeared. It was the Big Dipper. She raised her hand, gripping it, and the Big Dipper in the sky dimmed significantly. In its place, the Master of Star Mountain now held a Big Dipper. Her domain was actually borrowing the power of the stars. The face of the Heavenly Remnant City Lord darkened, quickly maneuvering 5 towering dharmas, collectively striking at the Master of Star Mountain. With a cold expression, the Master of Star Mountain gripped the Big Dipper and smashed it hard. The spoon-shaped Big Dipper crushed a dharma. The huge body of the Heavenly Remnant City Lord trembled, showing signs of pain, yet his gaze grew fiercer. "I've long wanted to experience the star power of the Master of Star Mountain." Under his command, the remaining 4 dharmas harmoniously targeted the Master of Star Mountain's weaknesses when the Big Dipper struck. Forgetful Wild Elder, who had been drunkenly lying on the rabbit's back, patted the rabbit's neck. The snow-white rabbit dashed forward, head-butted a dharma, making it stagger back. Following this, Forgetful Wild Elder suddenly opened his eyes, sat up quickly, grabbed the wine jug he had been using as a pillow, and smashed it against the nearest dharma, cracking its head. The pressure on the Master of Star Mountain greatly reduced, one hand beckoning the green sword to block a dharma, with the other hand grabbing the Big Dipper, smashing another dharma again. In just moments, the Heavenly Remnant City Lord saw 3 of his dharmas suffer varying degrees of damage. His heart, interconnected with the dharmas, let out a painful groan involuntarily. A feeling of foreboding arose in his heart. 2 great Venerates of the Heavenly Human 5 declines joining forces was indeed something he couldn't handle. Moreover, the 2 were clearly aiming to kill him, and their cooperation was seamless, evidently having arranged the plan beforehand. The horrific scenes of the 7 cities in the Heavenly Abyss alerted the 2 great Venerates to the latent threat of half-giants. In peaceful times, they could transform into ancient giants, wantonly devouring the human clan. When the ancient giants descend, what actions they might take, who dares to guarantee? The Master of Star Mountain proactively formed an alliance, with the initial intention of resolving internal conflicts to face external challenges. Since these conflicts proved irresolvable, then external alliances must be formed first. Using the incident at the 7 cities of Heavenly Abyss, they could rightfully eliminate the Heavenly Remnant City Lord. Understanding this, the Heavenly Remnant City Lord's eyes shifted, quickly saying, "The chief culprit-conquering Heaven General has been executed. 5 other generals were also affected. We, the Heavenly Heritage City, are also victims." The cold eyes of the Master of Star Mountain held a trace of sorrow, and she spoke icily. "Not enough. 3 cities, countless dead souls. If they'd died in the mouths of ancient giants, she wouldn't have been so angry, because ancient giants are mortal enemies. But the half-giants of Heavenly Heritage City were refugees with no home, granted half the land in returning ruined state. They committed the act worse than beasts. Betrayers are 100 times more hate-worthy than enemies." She grasped the Big Dipper again and moved in for the kill. Forgetful Wild Elder's eyes cooled as well, no longer disguising his killing intent, activating the divine ring behind his head. The 2 great Venerates teamed up to annihilate the Heavenly Remnant City Lord beneath the heavens. Jang Fan showed excitement, yet he suddenly sensed something, retrieving the little black bottle. Shock filled his pupils as he discovered the soul of conquering Heaven General sealed inside had vanished without a trace. Who could silently annihilate the soul within the sealing in the Dharma image realm, without making a single scream? The answer is clear: the sage, Jang Fan felt his hair stand on end. A sage had intervened. But why would he erase the soul of the conquering heaven general? Did he not want him to suffer? Jang Fan suddenly recalled how the conquering heaven general had previously threatened the lesser city lords to rescue him. Otherwise, he'd reveal the secret. Could it be that the murder was only to silence him for keeping the secret? But what secret needs a sage to personally intervene to protect? While he was pondering, a battle between two heavenly human 5 declines and one 5 phases realm had already begun. The 3 disappeared from their original place, instantly moving to outer heaven. The people standing on the ground could only hear the sound of the heavens collapsing from various places and see only strands of broken black void and the radiant arcs spreading from the domains. Residual might splattered, covering the heavens and earth, making everyone afraid to even breathe. Facing the heavenly human 5 declines, whether it was the nascent soul realm or the heavenly person decline, they appeared to be facing mighty heavenly power without much of a difference. The battles of heavenly human 5 declines would not last very long. After 5 breaths, a gigantic figure fell from the sky, crashing heavily into the ground, creating a massive pit. In the pit, the heavenly remnant city lord was riddled with holes, his body incomplete, spewing black blood. Just like when Xingyuan Venerable faced both Wu Gu and the 5-star giant king. 1 against 2, the result was inevitable. A swoosh sound. The Star Mountain Lord and the Forgetful Wild Elder appeared simultaneously. Their auras were not as vigorous as before, with some signs of disarray on them, but they were not greatly injured. Without hesitation, they each unleashed their domains, rushing toward the severely injured Heavenly Remnant City Lord. However, just as the domains were about to be activated, a faint, ancient voice echoed from the depths of the sky. Enough! That voice, like the sound of the heavenly Tao, carried an irrefutable command and supreme authority. The Star Mountain Lord and Forgetful Wild Elder, both in the realm of heavenly human 5 declines, suddenly froze, unable to continue their attack. The domains they had formed dissipated in an instant. The Star Mountain Lord's face slightly changed, and he hurriedly saluted respectfully, saying, "Greetings to the compassionate sage." The Forgetful Wild Elder's face twitched slightly and quickly bowed his hands, saying, "Compassionate sage." Jang Fan felt an inward chill. This great sage indeed had intervened. To be precise, he finally took action. Heavenly Heritage City was under his protection, and seeing the leader of the half-giants was about to perish, how could he stand by and do nothing? What puzzled Jang Fan was, why did he stay calm after so many were killed in the Dharma image realm? At this moment, the void trembled slightly, and the half-giant whose body had been shattered by Venerable Xianxia, leaving only a soul body to escape, returned again. He knelt on the ground in fright and pleaded, "Please, sage, make a decision for me." A voice of indifferent reprimand echoed from the sky, "Hope you learn your lesson and do not fall prey to schemes again." After the voice faded, a mysterious and profound rule descended from the sky, enveloping him. An extraordinary scene unfolded. The pieces of flesh scattered across the ground, together with his soul, reversed in time as though going back to the state before Venerable Xianxia shattered him. This is time reversal. Princess Zaijiang had used similar time powers before. The difference was that Princess Zaijiang could only heal locally. However, the compassionate great sage directly reverted the body to the state before its destruction. There is an enormous difference between the two. "Thank you, compassionate great sage." The 3 phases realm half-giant spoke with utmost respect. At the same time, Venerable Xianxia's face suddenly turned as pale as gold foil, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Her aura weakened rapidly, with blood seeping from her mouth, nose, and ears. Her body swayed, unable to stand steadily. She suffered a mysterious and severe injury. Jang Fan hurriedly supported her, exclaiming in surprise, "Godmother, what's wrong with you?" Venerable Xianxia gritted her teeth, looking toward the sky, and said, "The sage redirected my attack back onto me." Time reversal does not change things that already exist. The blow Venerable Xianxia delivered to shatter the body of the 3 phases realm did not disappear with the time reversal. The sage merely redirected it back onto Venerable Xianxia herself. Realizing this, Jang Fan's face changed, glaring at the sky, about to yell, but Venerable Xianxia covered his mouth. She shook her head slightly and conveyed through thought, "Do not act foolishly. A wise person does not suffer unnecessary losses. Godmother will be fine, won't die." At this moment, the Forgetful Wild Elder glanced over, his gaze lingering on Jang Fan for a moment before signaling his white rabbit mount with a look. The large white rabbit ran to venerable Xianxia, lowering its head to bite off a tuft of white fur from its chest, sprinkling it over venerable Xianxia. A miraculous scene appeared. The white rabbit fur merged into venerable Xianxia's body as though illusory, healing her injuries on the spot. Comparable to the 6th-grade healing spirit pill previously given by Ziwei Fairy, Jang Fan was amazed beyond measure. Was this large white rabbit so powerful? He hurriedly bowed his hands to the forgetful wild elder, grateful. "Thank you, senior, for your assistance." The forgetful wild elder, with his hands behind his back, replied drunkenly, "It's nothing. Besides, it should be the old man who thanks you." His gaze flitted to Kayang City, his eyes harboring grief. Even in the heavenly human 5 declines realm, far beyond the level of ordinary beings, the sight of entire cities being devoured and scenes of earthly hell still left him shocked. This persuaded the recluse to join forces with the Star Mountain Lord to slay the heavenly remnant city lord. Unfortunately, the great sage protecting the half-giants stood in their way. They did not succeed. But it was reassuring that this lad named Jang Fan had reached Heavenly Heritage City before them, slaughtering as many as 5 in the Dharma image realm. He also brought the villainous conquering Heaven General to justice, serving justice for the dead spirits of several cities. The only worry is that this great sage may not stop here. Just as this thought emerged, beside him, Jang Fan suddenly trembled violently. He felt as though a pair of eyes filled with rules were watching him from afar. That gaze made him tremble from soul to body, making him feel a sense of bowing down and worshipping, a delusion of kneeling. His knees bent uncontrollably, his mind went blank. The forgetful wild elder's eyes showed a hint of anger. Would they actually force Jang Fan to kneel and admit fault? The one in the wrong clearly was the half-giant. The Star Mountain Lord noticed as well, gripping the Big Dipper tightly. To protect the half-giant, this sage truly threw away all dignity. However, faced with the sage's intervention, what could they do? Could only watch helplessly as Jang Fan was continually forced to kneel. The lesser city lord sneered coldly, saying, "Acting lawlessly in our heavenly heritage city. Do not know the immensity of heaven and earth." Heavenly Heritage City was a place guarded by the sage. How could outsiders come to cause trouble? But just as Jang Fan's knees were about to touch the ground, rustle, rustle, a gentle sound of wind blowing through leaves drifted in. Jang Fan instantly felt clarity of mind, the pressure on him abruptly dissipated, allowing him to stand straight again. He was secretly amazed. Even the void ancient tree had taken action. This shouldn't be happening. During his previous life-threatening crises, the void ancient tree never intervened. Now, he's merely being intimidated without any threat to his life, yet it decides to act. Could it be that even the void ancient tree can't stand the sage's actions? Huh! The forgetful wild elder glanced at the sky and noticed the sage's oppression still lingering. He couldn't help but look at Jang Fan as if he'd seen a ghost. The Lord of Star Mountain, with her indifferent expression, couldn't hide her surprise, looking Jang Fan up and down. Even she might not withstand the sage's oppression without kneeling, yet Jang Fan stood straight-backed. In the sky, even the compassionate sage felt surprised. He intensified the intimidation, but Jang Fan still stood upright, completely unaffected. It was unclear whether this was out of caution or a perceived loss of face. Withdrawing the intimidation, he coldly said, "Hand over the 4 souls." He intended to apply the same method to revive the other 4 Dharma image realms. The forgetful wild elder sighed softly, as he had expected. The compassionate sage would spare no cost to save the 4 dead Dharma image realm half-giants. Jang Fan's efforts seemed to be in vain. The Lord of Star Mountain remained silent, but a trace of anger flashed in her cold eyes. If the compassionate sage hadn't sheltered them for a millennium, would these half-giants have become so arrogant as to cause such a disaster? Venerable Xianxia's face changed drastically, and he said solemnly, "No way!" Because if this went on, Jang Fan wouldn't just have his efforts wasted. The destructive attacks that killed the 4 Dharma image realms would all rebound onto him. How could Jang Fan's nascent soul realm body withstand the attack of 4 divinity transformation strikes? He would surely be obliterated on the spot. A faint voice came from the sky. "A sage acts as a representative of heaven, mortal creatures shall not interfere." A powerful oppression descended from beyond the heavens. Venerable Xianxia showed defiance, angrily rebuking, "What a representative of heaven! Allowing half-giants to burn, kill, plunder for millennia, sheltering them to the point of consuming 3 cities and slaughtering millions of the human clan. Which heaven are you representing, and what Tao is it? The sage in the sky responded with a slightly sharp tone, and without a word. An oppressive force descended, seemingly to punish this rebellious one. Jang Fan remained calm, flashed above Venerable Jing, and said lightly, "What a compassionate great sage! Truly kind and benevolent to the half-giants like a sainted sage. Yet ruthless and heartless to the human clan." Before he could respond, Jang Fan summoned the souls of 4 half-giants from the ghost soul crystal. To avoid collateral damage, the compassionate sage withdrew the oppression, and with supreme power tried to take the 4 souls away. However, the 4 souls suddenly emitted a piercing scream. Jang Fan's forehead unexpectedly shot out a soul nail. It pierced through the 4 souls one by one. If they had physical bodies for protection, the soul-shocking stab would hardly harm their souls. But they were pure soul bodies without any shell protection. The nascent soul 9th layer level soul power was sufficient to crush them. In an instant, the 4 souls screamed and shattered into pieces, transforming into soul fragments. The black fragments vanished into the void, heading towards an unknown direction. The transparent fragments disappeared in place. Even the powerful time reversal of the compassionate sage is merely a kind of rule, unable to defy the heavenly Tao of life and death and forcibly bring the dead back. The audience fell into a dead silence. Jang Fan's action was too quick and too sudden. Without any warning, no one expected he would dare to kill the souls of the 4 Dharma image realm half-giants in front of the compassionate sage, causing them to disappear entirely from the world. Wasn't this seeking death? The air froze for a long time. Finally, the heavenly remnant city lord reacted, crawling out of the pit, roaring, "Jang Fan, you're seeking death!" Others roared repeatedly. This meant they truly and permanently lost the 4 Dharma image realm half-giants, along with the conquering heaven general. A total of 5 died. Even the sage in the sky seemed stunned for a while before coming back to his senses. A hint of anger finally emerged from his calm tone, his voice sharp. "You junior are courting death." A mysterious rule power descended from beyond the heavens, crushing towards Jang Fan, sage of Central Earth, personally making a move against a nascent soul realm cultivator. Is there any doubt about the outcome? Jang Fan didn't even resist, for in the face of such an existence, all his methods were meaningless. He turned and smiled at Venerable Jing. "Godmother, I'm off. Thank you for coming." Venerable Jing's heart trembled, tears streaming down, only managing to cry out once, "Jang Fan." Jang Fan was enveloped by that terrifying force of time. A sage's strike, Jang Fan was destined to have no remains. However, what was unexpected was, Jang Fan stood there with a puzzled look, unharmed. Jang Fan couldn't help but wonder, could it be that the death date that the heavenly mechanism elder predicted for him hadn't arrived, so he couldn't die yet? In the next moment, a low, cold shout from the compassionate sage came from the sky. "Great wine sacrifice! You meddle in the affairs of my heavenly heritage city again." Everyone was suddenly enlightened. It turned out that it was the great wine sacrifice who intervened. Only she could silently neutralize the sage's attack. "Woo woo woo." A wailing sound suddenly came from within Kayang City. "You died so miserably, woo woo woo." The cry was mournful, filled with a heart-wrenching feeling. All who heard the cry couldn't help but shed tears. Even the 3 present heavenly human 5 declines and 5 phases realm experts couldn't stop their tears from flowing. If they were like this, how could others be any different? In just a few moments, all half-giants in Heavenly One City began wailing loudly. The body refinement accomplished half-giants managed better, but those below the core formation realm truly cried till they broke their hearts, wailing and spitting blood. The compassionate sage angrily said, "Enough!" The voice contained powerful rules, neutralizing the weeping song of the great wine sacrifice. Only then did everyone find relief. Jang Fan wiped his tears, feeling immensely curious as the sorrow in his heart subsided. He recalled that the little Killin had said they were sent out of returning ruins state by a crying ant. Could that ant be the great wine sacrifice? Indeed, as the saying goes, except for the great wine sacrifice of Taikang state, none from other states are normal. The great wine sacrifice of the great wilderness state is addicted to wine. The great wine sacrifice of Hunyuan state mourns countless graves. The great wine sacrifice of returning ruin state is a crybaby. It's truly enough. The great wine sacrifice emerged from Kayang City, eyes red with tears, and her tears mixed with the snot flowing down beside her lips. She wept to the sky, "Woo-woo-woo, I am truly saddened. They are so pitiful." The compassionate sage snorted coldly, "Stop pretending." If not for you blinding my perception, how would I be unaware of this junior killing so many Dharma image realms in Heavenly Heritage City? Jang Fan understood. No wonder the compassionate sage remained unmoved while he wreaked havoc in Heavenly Heritage City. It was the great wine sacrifice secretly supporting Jang Fan all along. But things have escalated to a point where it seems impossible to resolve. Sage shifted his gaze once more to Jang Fan, saying coldly, "Don't think the great wine sacrifice is here to save you. You have harmed the half-giants, and that is an affront to justice." Jang Fan sneered, "You should be thankful that this world lacks justice. If there were any semblance of justice, an old thief like you, who has sheltered half-giants causing havoc for millennia, would have long been thrown into the 18 layers of purgatory. The half-giants are evil, but even more so is the compassionate sage who shelters them. A person like this dares to call himself compassionate. He truly sullies the term. The sky trembled, sending a shockwave through the atmosphere that made everyone shiver. Jang Fan had really angered the compassionate sage. However, a shadow flashed beside Jang Fan, and the great wine sacrifice, dressed in a dark green gown, appeared. She grabbed Jang Fan's sleeve, crying as if her heart were breaking. "Jang Fan, you're so young. It's a shame for you to die, boo-hoo." While appearing to weep, she invisibly blocked the impending threat from the heavens. The voice of the compassionate sage was sinister. "Great wine sacrifice? Are you really going to oppose me?" The great wine sacrifice kept crying without saying a word. Yet she stood by Jang Fan's side, showing no intention of leaving. The meaning was obvious. The compassionate sage said coldly, "Fine, let's see if you've reached that level." A massive power emanating from rules spread out, engulfing the entire Heavenly Heritage City. His desire to kill Jang Fan only intensified. How dare Jang Fan kill the half-giant he had protected right before his eyes? If Jang Fan doesn't pay the price, how will the half-giants view their protector? Crackle. But at that moment, a thunderbolt struck from the heavens without warning. A scream echoed from the sky. The great wine sacrifice abruptly raised her head, her eyes filled with surprise and doubt. Then she seemed to hear something, her demeanor shifting from crying to nodding vigorously like a pecking chick. A moment later, the overwhelming pressure from the compassionate sage dissipated like clouds and smoke. The great wine sacrifice let out a long sigh, standing tall again, wiping the cold sweat from her forehead, muttering, "Haven't shown up in hundreds of years, suddenly speaking out like that, trying to scare people to death." The faces of Star Mountain Lord and forgetful Wild Elder changed. Someone capable of demanding such respect from the great wine sacrifice, not even a sage could do. There's only one kind of person. That is, an ancient saint. This affair has surprisingly caught the attention of an ancient saint. Forgetful Wild Elder no longer dared show his drunkenness, cautiously asking, "Great wine sacrifice, has that presence manifested?" The great wine sacrifice slightly nodded. Gasp, it's truly an ancient saint. The old face of Forgetful Wild Elder twitched, probing, could there be any divine will imparted? The great wine sacrifice looked up at the sky, then pondered before saying. He said 3 sentences. The first sentence was to the compassionate sage, saying if his strength is restored, he should go outside the world, not stay confined to Central Earth. The second sentence was about asking me to arrange people to go to the demon continent, where changes have occurred and strong individuals are needed for assistance. The third sentence, the great wine sacrifice cast a slightly odd look at Jang Fan and said, it was addressed to Jang Fan. He said to let this dog also go to the demon continent. Jang Fan was contemplating the first 2 sentences. He had wondered before, as Heavenly Eye Sage had mentioned, all sages had gone to a more significant battlefield outside the world. Why was there still a compassionate sage in returning ruined state? Listening to the ancient saint's words, he vaguely discerned that the compassionate sage might be having physical issues, using an excuse to stay in Central Earth. It seemed the compassionate sage's display of power had displeased the ancient saint. The second sentence, however, didn't surprise Jang Fan much. Even in Hunyuan state, Jang Fan knew that Xingyuan Venerable had stayed for a long time in the demon continent due to urgent matters. Could it relate to the same issue? But the third sentence unsettled him. This ancient saint is likely the foul-mouthed one from Taikang State, isn't she? What a guy, what have I done to provoke her again? In the past, she often zapped me with little bolts. Now she's directly calling me a dog. His forehead throbbed with veins, muttering, "Dog woman, I've said I'd pin you down one day and beat your backside raw. Just you wait." As soon as he finished speaking, rumble. Several thunderbolts struck him. Jang Fan was immediately convulsed by the shock. Fortunately, his heavenly thunder 6 parts had reached great success, and all the thunderbolts striking his body were absorbed into his heavenly abyss heart. Without even a trace of embarrassment, he smiled smugly. "Is that all? Are you weak-handed, just these few thunderbolts?" The sky fell silent with no further movement. It seemed the ancient saint had departed. Jang Fan patted the scorched clothes, muttering, "Ran away again." He was already accustomed to it. In memory, whenever he inadvertently provoked her, she would appear and strike him with lightning. This time was no different. Just as Jang Fan was busy patting the soot off himself, the void behind him suddenly split open. A jade foot clad in an embroidered shoe emerged from the crack, kicking Jang Fan's rear. Ouch! Jang Fan was caught off guard, stumbled forward nearly face first. When he turned to look, the void behind him had returned to normal. Only a small, clear footprint remained on Jang Fan's behind. Jang Fan was both angry and annoyed, shouting, "Foul woman! Are you on the wrong medicine this time?" Previously, no matter how he cursed, the woman used to ignore him, didn't she? Why did she give him a kick this time? He got up, rubbing his swollen red posterior, muttering, "Kicking with such strength," while muttering. He suddenly realized something's wrong with the atmosphere around him. The whole place was dead silent. Be it the great wine sacrifice, Star Mountain Lord, or forgetful wild elder. Even the heavenly heritage city lord and the crowd of half-giants. They were all wide-eyed and gawking at Jang Fan, as if they'd seen a ghost. They could hardly believe their eyes. The ancient saint actually responded to Jang Fan's curses. Over the past 10,000 years, many have cursed at the ancient saints, but which ancient saint has ever responded? What made their scalp tingle was that the ancient saint not only sent thunderbolts in response to Jang Fan, but also appeared, kicking Jang Fan. Since the founding of the Central Earth Realm, the 9 ancient saints had vanished without a trace. Now, for the sake of kicking Jang Fan, an appearance was made. Moreover, they felt an unbelievable sensation. The atmosphere between Jang Fan and the ancient saint resembled a playful banter. Thinking this, they all shook their heads, shivering to erase the absurd thought. No way, absolutely impossible. It must be their delusion. The great wine sacrifice glanced meaningfully at Jang Fan, saying, "Since the ancient saint wants you to go to the demon continent, you should accompany me back to the Kinshin Bureau." Jang Fan shook his hand, seriously saying, "Please wait. Allow me to first perform the rites for the souls of Kayang City." He raised a hand, summoning the 9-dragon demon tripod from afar. He retrieved the Black Buddha scripture from within, flew to the sky over Kayang City, and unfurled the scripture. Domain has the effect of calming resentful thoughts, and is the supreme scripture for granting peace to the dead. As Jang Fan recited, lines of black Sanskrit flew out from the prison suppressing soul scripture and into Kayang City. Strands of fragmented soul lights hidden in corners, bodies, and the underground seemed to be drawn, gathering towards the Sanskrit, forming into complete, illusory souls one by one. After a cup of tea's time, when the scripture was finished, the sky above Kayang City was filled with a dense mass of souls. They laughed and followed the Sanskrit, running towards the place of the unseen. Jang Fan closed the scripture, murmuring, "If there is a next life, may you all find peace in your journey, never to suffer such torment again." As if sensing something, many souls stopped their running, turned around, and bowed towards Jang Fan. Then, guided by the Sanskrit, they ran towards the unknown place. When the last wisp of soul dispersed, the clouds shrouding the sky over Kayang City suddenly cleared. Sunlight flooded the city, adding a touch of brightness to the ruinous desolation. Jang Fan stood for a long while before withdrawing his gaze. Just as he was about to descend, a mystical and pure golden feather spun down from the sky. Forgetful wild elder's pupils shrank as he exclaimed, "It's merit! Heaven sent merit! How is it possible? Simply granting peace to the dead would bring down merit. No, it's that black Buddhist scripture." Even the usually composed Star Mountain Master, under the silver hair, her eyes filled with shock and fervor. Reaching the heavenly person 5 declines realm, the only pursuit is merit. But acquiring merit is incredibly difficult. One must achieve noble deeds and virtues. So-called virtues convince people through virtue and garner the faith of all beings. Achievements refer to establishing great merit for all beings. In times of peace, gaining merit is as hard as ascending to heaven. In the past millennium, many have become heavenly human 5 declines great Venerates, but none have amassed enough merit to enter the sage realm through merit. Yet Jang Fan merely granted peace to a group of deceased, and heaven actually bestowed merit upon him. How could any heavenly person 5 declines remain calm? However, when this golden feather of merit fell on Jang Fan, it went straight through his body without stopping. Forgetful Wild Elder lamented, slapping his thigh. Ah, he's only in the nascent soul realm, he can't retain merit. Seeing Jang Fan unable to retain the merit, Forgetful Wild Elder felt a pang of heartache. He wished he could rush over to catch the merit about to fall to the ground. But the merit was granted to Jang Fan. No one else could take it. Star Mountain Master bit her red lips slightly with regret. Watching merit go to waste is worse than killing her, who would have thought? Just as the merit was about to fall to the ground and dissipate, it sensed something and twirled back up, merging into Jang Fan's chest. More precisely, it entered the space mirror in his embrace. The little Killin, lazing on the ground, suddenly saw a feather flying over, brightened its eyes, and got up. Extending its little paw, it jumped up to catch the feather. The feather did not evade, allowing the little Killin to grasp it in its paw. Then it transformed into strands of fine gold light, merging into the little Killin's body. In its belly, the merit divine pearl subtly grew larger. This scene left both the Star Mountain Master and the Forgetful Wild Elder startled. The Star Mountain Master narrowed her phoenix eyes slightly. Does he have a heavenly person 5 declines presence on him? Forgetful Wild Elder stroked his beard. It's not just heavenly person 5 declines. It's closely linked to Jang Fan. That's why this merit also acknowledges him. What on earth is this kid's background? He's got a bunch of bizarre things on him. Star Mountain Master's phoenix eyes twinkled. She turned her head to look at Ziwei Fairy, finding her staring dazedly at Jang Fan's back. The feat of Jang Fan today, beheading 5 divinity transformation realm experts in fury and rebuking the sage, granting countless souls peace, left an indelible impression in her heart. She always thought that with her apprenticeship under a heavenly human 5 declines great venerate, she would surpass Jang Fan and stop admiring him from below. Unexpectedly, the gap between them hadn't closed at all. Instead, it widened further and further. Ziwei, called the Star Mountain Master. Ziwei Fairy, flustered inside, quickly retracted her gaze and respectfully asked, Master, do you have any instructions? Star Mountain Master said, The matter of the heavenly abyss's 7 cities ends here. The conquering Heaven General has already received his due punishment, and Heavenly Heritage City has met its deserved end. It's time to look forward. In less than a month, the ancient giants will arrive. We must still prioritize the greater good, so you will have to endure and continue the marriage arrangement with the young city lord of Heavenly Heritage City. What? Not only was Ziwei Fairy surprised, but so were the people of Heavenly Heritage City. Previously, the Star Mountain Master had even joined forces with Forgetful Wild Elder to put the Heavenly Remnant City Lord to death. Their conflict had reached a point as irreconcilable as water and fire. Yet, the Star Mountain Master still wanted Ziwei Fairy to marry the young city lord. Was she not afraid that Heavenly Heritage City would vent their anger on Ziwei Fairy, causing her to suffer or even die there? Ziwei Fairy couldn't believe it and said, Master, you still want me to engage in a marriage alliance? Star Mountain Master answered calmly, Do you have any objections? Ziwei Fairy bit her red lips slightly, wanting to oppose, but after glancing at Jang Fan beside her, her heart fell into despair. She nodded and said, I will follow your arrangement, Master. Jang Fan frowned slightly. If prior arrangements had the marriage alliance between Ziwei Fairy and the young city lord, he had nothing to say. In the face of a great enemy, an alliance between 2 forces entangled for millennia was the right move. But after today's events, what meaning does an alliance through marriage still hold? Heavenly Heritage City suffered heavy losses, with only endless resentment towards the magic cultivators, which a marriage alliance can't dispel. Forcing this marriage only pushed Ziwei Fairy into the fire pit, without any meaning. He couldn't help but plead, Senior, please consider carefully. Do not let Ziwei Fairy make a meaningless sacrifice. The Star Mountain Master, returning to her cold demeanor, looked faintly at Jang Fan. Is it your place to meddle in Star Mountain's affairs? HMPH. I despise people telling me what to do. If you don't want me to marry off my disciple, I'll marry her off anyway. I think, rather than wait for a better time, why not marry now? What? Jang Fan, annoyed, wondered if this woman had lost her mind. Not listening to advice is one thing, but getting more stubborn the more you advise. At the same time, he felt deep guilt. He wanted to say a kind word for Ziwei Fairy, but ended up causing her trouble instead. Ziwei Fairy had helped him so much. She even went so far as to sacrifice herself to marry the young city lord to save him. Thinking of this, he pulled Ziwei Fairy behind him, saying sternly, "Star Mountain Master, if you insist on this, I can only foolishly stand against you." He took out his last piece of wish paper and ignited it. Star Mountain Master showed a chilling expression. "Can you bear the consequences of spoiling our returning ruined state's grand plan?" Jang Fan, seeing his days numbered, wondered what consequences he couldn't bear. He immediately declared firmly, "As long as the senior does not make things difficult for Ziwei Fairy, I will bear all consequences." Star Mountain Master nodded and said, "Good. Then you shall marry Ziwei Fairy?" Jang Fan nodded without thinking, "Okay." Wait, he suddenly widened his eyes. Did he hear wrong? Until he saw the mischievous smile hidden in Star Mountain Master's eyes, he finally understood. From the beginning, Star Mountain Master never intended to restore the marriage alliance between the two clans. The intention was for Ziwei Fairy to marry the renowned Jang Fan, who single-handedly stormed Heavenly Heritage City and slew 5 nascent Soul Realm half-giants. She just wanted to force Jang Fan into agreeing by taking a reversed approach. Jang Fan felt overwhelmed. Is Star Mountain's scheme really this deep? Jang Fan hurriedly said, "Senior, how can marriage be a trifling matter? To marry Ziwei Fairy at first sight is truly too hasty." The master of Star Mountain raised a finger, and the top-grade spiritual artifact, the green sword, rested on Jang Fan's neck, saying, "You yourself said decisively that you would bear all consequences. You prevented Ziwei Fairy from marrying someone, causing her not to marry out, then she can only marry you." On the side, forgetful Wild Elder laughed heartily. "I knew you had your eye on this kid. Famous, with high character, also mastering a mysterious Buddhist scripture, able to gain merit. Which of the great Venerates who has reached the heavenly human 5 declines would be unclear about the importance, recklessly pushing their disciples into a pit of fire?" The master of Star Mountain glanced at him and said blandly, "It's none of your business here. You can leave." Forgetful Wild Elder, with a wine gourd on his back and his chin in his hand, said, "It's none of my business, he. Kid, take out old man's infinite ring to let the master of Star Mountain have a look." "Huh." Jiang Fan looked puzzled. The scene of him using the infinite ring in the heavenly realm was shielded by the great wine sacrifice. How does forgetful Wild Elder know he has the infinite ring? What infinite ring? Jiang Fan feigned ignorance. Forgetful Wild Elder laughed heartily and said, "Even the 9-dragon demon tripod of old man fell into your hands, not to mention that infinite ring." Ah, Jiang Fan was shocked, incredulous. Are you from Taikang State?" Forgetful Wild Elder nodded and said, "Only considered half. I originally hail from Heavenly State, met a fairy from Taikang State, and stayed there for half a lifetime. Later, we parted ways due to differing views on resisting the ancient giants." Jiang Fan found it hard to believe, to see the male owner of the infinite ring in his lifetime. He had always thought that the other party had fallen in the past century. Unexpectedly, not only is he still alive, he has even broken through divinity transformation and stepped into the heavenly human 5 declines. The infinite ring has saved Jang Fan's life several times. Facing its true owner, Jiang Fan was grateful and took out the infinite ring, offering it with both hands, saying, "Thanks to the relics of the senior, the junior was able to retrieve his life several times. Now the item returns to its original owner." Forgetful Wild Elder smiled and did not take it, saying, "Since I left the infinite ring and 9-dragon demon tripod, along with that thunder path technique behind, they were gifts for someone destined. Since you obtained it, it belongs to you." When he mentioned the 3 pure thunder shadow, his identity was even more certain. Jiang Fan held the infinite ring, thoughts surging, saying, "Unexpectedly, Senior has walked out of madness and achieved the position of human supreme. If that Senior has knowledge in the afterlife, she must be comforted." The smile on Forgetful Wild Elder's face faded. He sighed slightly. "When did she fall?" Jiang Fan did not hide, saying, "Reporting to the senior about 100 years ago." A hint of bitterness appeared on Forgetful Wild Elder's face, saying, "That was just when we parted. Did she fall in the underground world of Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion?" Jiang Fan nodded. Forgetful Wild Elder opened the wine gourd, tilted his head, and took a sip. A touch of drunkenness appeared in his eyes. "I have long warned her. To seek the path of the sleeping ancient saint cannot save the masses. In thousands of years and 9 great calamities, which time did the saint act? This is an era where the saint does not appear." Jiang Fan felt a shock in his heart. The saint does not appear. He too had wondered why in the 9 great cataclysms on heaven and earth, there were divinity transformation venerables who shed blood. and sages sacrificing themselves to drag the Usura Emperor to perish together. Yet never heard of a saint manifesting. With the power of a saint who creates realms, would it be so difficult to prevent a calamity? However, this also means that the boundary master of the heavenly realm didn't involve in the arrival of ancient giants. Otherwise, with Central Earth Saint not appearing, the boundary master of the heavenly realm could easily sway the battle. It seems that not only does the saint not appear, but the boundary master also does not emerge. Their titles as creators, why do they not come forth? Forgetful Wild Elder took another sip of wine, the sorrow in his eyes replaced by drunkenness, murmuring, "Those who abandon me the past days shall not be retained. Those who disturb my heart, today's days bring much worry. Better not mention past events. Kid, since you are connected to me, old man can't watch you be bullied. I'll take you away, this woman won't force you to marry her disciple." With that, Forgetful Wild Elder tried to grab Jang Fan's hand, until a ray of green light separated the two. The master of Star Mountain's silver hair fluttered, her eyes sharp and disdainful. "Jang Fan, don't think this old thing has good intentions. Half a month ago, he took in a female disciple who was hurt by love. Now he wants to catch you to marry her for his female disciple to heal her heart." Oh my. Jang Fan's scalp tingled. This old thing caught up with him, played the sentiment card to numb him, actually dug a big pit. None of the great Venerates of Heavenly Human 5 declines are simple people. The master of Star Mountain said, "Who knows what kind of beauty or martial path talent his disciple has? But my disciple Ziwei Fairy is truly the first beauty of returning ruined state, also possessing a mysterious martial path physique. If it ever activates, stepping into Heavenly Human 5 declines is easy. Which one to choose, no need for me to say, right?" Forgetful Wild Elder's face fell, dissatisfied. "Jang Fan is my destined one, you want to take him too." The master of Star Mountain chuckled. "Only you have the destiny with him." Her eyes moved slightly, falling on the purple sword on Jang Fan's back. She glanced at the green sword in her hand and tossed it into the sky. The green sword flew up, the patterns on it flickering as if coming alive. An unexpected scene unfolded before Jang Fan. The purple sword on his back seemed summoned, uncontrollably drawn from its sheath, flying to join the green sword. The two swords chased each other, each emitting green and purple arcs, forming a green-purple interlaced circular light curtain. Jang Fan looked surprised. What is this? He could tell the two swords were once one, mutually attracting each other. The master of Star Mountain said, "These are yin-yang dual swords made from an immortal mountain in the heavenly realm, named Purple Thunder and Green Frost. Green Frost is wielded by me, Purple Thunder by my senior brother." Jang Fan recalled the origin of the purple sword. When Su Yining was born, a passing great power, seeing Su Yining's extraordinariness, sealed the purple sword and 2 spirit pills for enhancing spirit root in the cloud-floating cave, only to be taken by Su Yining upon maturity, using the jade pendant. Jang Fan inadvertently discovered the secret of the jade pendant, intercepting Su Yining's chance. Unexpectedly, the purple sword came from returning ruined state. He asked, "May I know where your senior brother is?" The master of Star Mountain's silver hair fluttered, expression calm, dead. Trapped in the 9-aperture nascent soul, unable to awaken, he transfigured away. She pointed, the 2 swords returned to her side. "Purple Thunder and Green Frost are treasures of my Star Mountain, now returned to their original owner." Jang Fan felt a pang. Purple Thunder was his first spirit sword and his longest companion. Now suddenly losing it, he felt particularly pained. But this sword originally belonged to Star Mountain. However, the master of Star Mountain shifted her tone, saying, "If you are willing to marry Ziwei, Purple Thunder will be returned to you, Green Frost will also be gifted. Consider it as the dowry prepared for Ziwei." Fan's heart skipped a beat. Is Green Frost also being given to him? How rare it is to find a top-grade spirit sword. Back when he went to the heavenly realm to execute a reconnaissance task, narrowly escaping death, the reward of the top-grade spirit sword is still unfulfilled. Now all he has to do is marry Ziwei Fairy to obtain it effortlessly. Even Venerable Lianjing was moved, gently nudging his arm, whispering, "What are you hesitating for? This is a great thing, gaining both love and wealth. Marrying the most beautiful woman in returning ruined state, rewarded with top-grade spirit sword, even I, a woman, am tempted." Daydreaming wouldn't even dare to dream such dreams, would it? But after a brief moment of temptation, Jang Fan shook his head slightly and said, "Thank you for your kind intentions, Senior. It's good that the Purple Thunder returns to its original owner." Of course, he knew that this was a wonderful opportunity before him, but he had his own considerations. Firstly, he hoped that his woman would be together because of love, like Fairy Yunshang or Gong Kei. If external forces bring them together, they will eventually disperse because of external forces. Secondly, his lifespan is limited. Why bother ruining Ziwei Fairy's life for it? Ziwei Fairy has treated him well. Marrying her would actually harm her. Ultimately, he must consider the matters after his death. His magical treasures each have their source. The Purple Thunder being someone else's property, returning to its original owner is for the best. Stubborn! Star Mountain Lord's eyes turned cold. Do you think I am too easygoing? Her identity is the heavenly human 5 declines Great Venerate. She is the supreme of returning ruins, states magic cultivation human clan. For her disciples' marriage, she employed clever tactics and tempted with benefits, already lowering herself from her status as a Great Venerate. Yet Jang Fan repeatedly obstructs her, undeniably causing her embarrassment. At this moment, Ziwei Fairy, who had remained silent all along, spoke with dim eyes. Does young Master Jiang find me unworthy? Do you need to see my true visage? Jang Fan sighed and said, Ziwei Fairy misunderstood. Your title as the most beautiful woman in returning ruins state surely means you possess uncommon beauty. But I still feel that matters of men and women are not trivial. Ziwei Fairy found it somewhat ironic. Does Jiang Fan lack women around him? Why doesn't he feel it's trivial with them? But only when it's about her does he make it an excuse. Her gaze grew cold and she said, What if I insist on marrying you? You consumed my 6th grade spirit pill, received the protection of my starlight, sacrificed myself to protect your life willingly. Do you consider all of these things to have never happened? Jiang Fan was speechless. He hadn't forgotten, but it doesn't mean he must marry Ziwei Fairy to repay her, does it? Ziwei Fairy's tone grew sharper, whether you find it moral coercion or consider it demanding too much. You must marry me, and I want to wed today. Star Mountain Lord revealed a rare smile. Well said, that's how my disciple should be. She waved her wide sleeves, transforming starlight into ropes to bind Jiang Fan, saying, Come back with me to Star Mountain. Jiang Fan's expression changed slightly, seeking help with his eyes toward Venerable Lianjing. Venerable Lianjing frowned a bit, watching Jiang Fan being forced into marriage. She felt uncomfortable too. But thinking back on it, she felt Jiang Fan had concepts too overly sentimental. Marriage between men and women doesn't necessarily demand feelings. If the benefits are enough, then why not? Ziwei Fairy is as beautiful as a flower, her dowry is 2 top-grade spirit swords, and her background is the disciple of the heavenly human 5 declines Great Venerate. Jiang Fan marrying her brings all benefits without harm. Thus, not only did she not stop it, but she instead advised, Star Mountain Lord, keep a close watch on Jiang Fan. This kid is slipperier than an eel, don't let him escape. Jiang Fan nearly choked on blood. Instead of helping me, why kick me? Then she chuckled, Son, enjoy yourself well at Star Mountain, give your godmother a chubby grandchild soon. With that said, she took off using instantaneous movement. Great Wine Sacrifice couldn't help but weep, sobbing, Why do some people eagerly desire him? While I'm still single, boo-hoo-hoo, Star Mountain Lord glanced at her sideways and said, After Jiang Fan's marriage, I will release him to head to Demon Continent. Farewell. Before leaving, she glanced at Forgetful Wild Elder. Realizing that he didn't stop her, she softly snorted, Smart decision. Jiang Fan was bound by starlight, struggling hard but unable to escape, forced to head to Star Mountain along with the Star Mountain Lord. Forgetful Wild Elder sighed, jumped onto Big White Rabbit, drunkenly said, There's no helping it, our fate doesn't match theirs. However, Jiang Fan's depth is too profound, Star Mountain Lord won't be able to tame him, ha ha ha. Big White Rabbit nodded as if understanding vaguely, ran off swiftly. Great Wine Sacrifice noticed everyone leaving, she stopped crying too. She shook her sleeves and disappeared as well. Heavenly Remnant City Lord wiped the blood off his mouth, looking at the shattered city walls, gazing at the remains of the 5 great generals. His eyes gleamed with cold light. The young city lord clenched his fists in rage and sorrow. Father, are we just going to let this go? For 1,000 years only have they, the half-giants, bullied others. When have they suffered such persecution? Yet Jiang Fan slaughtering their half-giants results in nothing. With 2 heavenly human 5 declines Great Venerate protecting him, Great Wine Sacrifice indulging him, even Ancient Saint sheltering him. It's too unfair. Heavenly Remnant City Lord composed himself, squatted down, patted his shoulder, speaking with steady eyes. As a qualified hunter, one must learn to hibernate. Deliver the fatal blow to the prey at the critical moment. As he spoke, he silently raised his head, looking up to the heavenly realm overhead. Heavenly abyss, 7 cities. After Jang Fan finished chanting the last Sanskrit, he sent the last dead spirit to rest. Per his request, they specifically passed through heavenly abyss, 7 cities. Jang Fan consecutively released the souls of the dead spirits from the other 2 cities that met their demise. Just like before, the sky bestowed 2 feathers of merit absorbed by Little Killin. Star Mountain Lord looked at the ruins of Tianchu City, her gaze complex. Jang Fan closed the prison-suppressing soul scripture, saying, "Senior, I have a question I would like to ask." Star Mountain Lord said, "Speak." Jang Fan's gaze was profound. Senior truly believes the conquering heaven general committed such heinous acts because he wished to mimic the ancient giant's big hunt. Star Mountain Lord's eyes remained calm, not speaking. Jang Fan said, "Surely you've noticed something amiss, haven't you? No matter how arrogant and reckless the conquering heaven general is, he must know the colossal disaster of devouring the lives of entire 3 cities. How dare he commit such a grave error for a mere thrill? Today, even if Jang Fan did not kill the conquering heaven general, Star Mountain Lord and forgetful Wild Elder would personally have slain him. The big hunt of 3 cities, consuming and massacring 10,000 lives. This surpassed the human clan's threshold, sure to ignite the fury of half the returning ruined state. Wouldn't the conquering heaven general be aware of this significance? Would he have committed such a self-defeating act? Yet he still did it. Coupled with the conquering heaven general once threatening the young city lord, he harnesses some secret. Compassionate sage wiped out his soul personally for confidentiality. Thus, the tragic event of Heavenly Abyss 7 cities certainly harbors serious underlying matters. Star Mountain Lord tilted her head to observe, her eyes locking onto Jang Fan, saying, "No wonder you managed to break through Heavenly Realm twice. Such intelligence is admirable." Ziwei Fairy's face beneath the mask revealed surprise. Having been with her mentor for half a year, it was the first time she heard her mentor praise someone. Fan cupped his hands and said, "Senior, do you know something? I earnestly ask the senior to inform me." The Lord of the group stars was about to speak when she suddenly sensed something and looked deep into the sky. The words at the tip of her tongue shrank back and she said, "I am just speculating without evidence. As it concerns the reputation of the half-giant race, I cannot make baseless guesses." Jang Fan noticed her unusual expression and also glanced at the sky, his heart heavy with caution. Undoubtedly, the Lord of the group stars was warned by the compassionate sage. This old thief, afraid that the disgrace of the half-giants would be exposed. But while the Lord of the group stars revered him, Jang Fan, who was nearing death, could not care less. He said in a deep voice, "If the senior won't speak, this junior has also guessed a bit. You and the forgetful Wild Elder didn't jointly slay the Heavenly Heritage City Lord as a mere impulsive act of fury, did you? Surely, you must have realized there was an irreversible reason to eliminate the half-giants. Thus, you were willing to pay any cost to wipe him out, lest future troubles remain." Once reaching the level of the Heavenly Human 5 declines, one is not easily ruled by emotion, just like that Heavenly Heritage City Lord, who clearly wished nothing more than to dismember Jang Fan. Yet, when Ziwei Fairy was willing to continue the marriage alliance, he coolly spared Jang Fan. If even the half-giants behave so, there is no reason the Lord of the group stars and the forgetful Wild Elder would act on impulse. The Lord of the group stars remained silent, raising her hand to grip the air, causing the space beside her to ripple. A female venerable with a decent appearance floated out. The Lord of the group stars touched her forehead with a finger. The female venerable awakened, but her eyes were full of dazedness, and she looked around motionlessly. She did not even recognize the great venerate of the Heavenly Human 5 declines standing before her. Jang Fan's pupils contracted. She's had her memory erased and completely wiped out. Red Sleeves once said that the memory of a divinity transformation venerable is not so easily wiped clean. Therefore, the identity of the person who erased this female venerable's memory is self-evident. This also explained a small question Jang Fan had in his mind. That is, why could the conquering heaven general alone consume 3 cities and even capture the female venerable guarding the 7 cities of the heavenly abyss? Because the conquering heaven general wasn't alone present, the compassionate sage was also there. This old bastard. Jang Fan, burning with rage, said, "Why does he protect the half-giants so? Is it possible that he is also a half-giant?" The Lord of the group stars shook her head. He is of the human clan, native to returning ruined state. Jang Fan couldn't understand, frowning. Then why does he favor the half-giant so? He doesn't seem as benevolent as the rumors say. When dealing with our human clan, he shows no mercy. 1,000 years ago, without him stepping in to protect the half-giants, they would have been annihilated by all races. They would not have remained to become a scourge, nor would today's tragedy have occurred. The Lord of the Group Stars said calmly, "You have seen the heavenly eye sage who fought with the remnant soul of the giant emperor for 1,000 years. And seen the Wu Gu who, fearing death, betrayed the human clan and joined the ancient giants, right?" Jang Fan nodded. "And what does the senior mean by that?" The Lord of the Group Stars glanced at the sky with some apprehension, speaking with deep meaning. "What I'm trying to say is, during the Great War of 1,000 years ago, not all great Venerates of the heavenly human 5 declines were courageous enough to battle the ancient giants." Jang Fan pondered, trying to grasp her meaning. There should be many who did not dare to fight the ancient giants to the death. So why did the Lord of the Group Stars specifically mention the heavenly human 5 declines? Suddenly, Jang Fan suddenly understood, his face flushing with uncontrollable anger. The Lord of the Group Stars was telling Jang Fan how the compassionate sage achieved his wise man realm. In the war 1,000 years ago, the compassionate sage of the heavenly human 5 declines, out of cowardice, hid until the war was won. But because he didn't participate in the great battle, he didn't earn merit and couldn't advance into the wise man realm like the meritorious heavenly human 5 declines. So he turned his attention to the group of half-giants who, like him, were surviving by any means and betrayed their kin. At that time, the half-giants were facing a bloody reckoning and needed protection. The compassionate sage raised his arm, naturally winning their faith. Then, the compassionate sage protected their entire race from the slaughter of all races, saving countless lives, which was considered a great merit. Central Earth thus bestowed merit, allowing him to break through to become a sage. This clearly explains why a sage, seemingly overflowing with love, protected the half-giants. Turns out, behind what seemed unreasonable lay enormous hidden interests. Jang Fan remembered the sages who perished with enemies by detonating the jade paper heavenly book, the Baekshuan sword master whose sword swept across his surroundings, and the strong ones from Central Earth who died on the heavenly mountain battlefield. He also thought of, beside the 7 cities of the heavenly abyss, the boundless cemetery, with endless tombstones of fallen martyrs. His heart was filled with uncontrollable grief and anger. Those who fought for Central Earth left only a name, a tombstone, receiving nothing. A petty person like Compassionate Sage, however, survived disgracefully to become a sage. "Is this fair?" Jang Fan said in a deep voice. "Were the ancient saints blind? Why is protecting the half-giants also considered merit?" The so-called half-giants were a group of cowardly traitors who, fearing being hunted by ancient giants, voluntarily drank ancient giant blood to evolve. It's hard to say how much evil they did during the chaotic war, how many of their own people they harmed while assisting ancient giants. Wiping them out should be the merit, right? Why is protecting them also considered so? The Lord of the Group Stars looked at the angry Jang Fan, suddenly understanding a little why everyone liked him. The great wine sacrifice of each state and venerable Jing cared for him. That's because they saw their past selves in Jang Fan, the future of Central Earth. She patiently explained, "Merit is a rule jointly created by the 9 ancient saints, not subject to change by any single one of them. Even though the half-giants have half-ancient giant blood, they also have half-Central Earth blood. Therefore, they are still classified as Central Earth living beings by Central Earth. And saving Central Earth living beings is considered meritorious. Some sage found a loophole in this rule," Jang Fan angrily said. "Does a person like that deserve to be a sage?" The Lord of the Group Stars secretly clicked her tongue. Only Jang Fan could say such blasphemous words in front of the compassionate sage. He has the protection of the ancient saints. The compassionate sage can only endure. Anyone else daring to slander him like this would have already been eliminated. The Lord of the Group Stars carefully transmitted. "Don't be too angry. You have already made him suffer by annihilating 5 Dharma Image Realm half-giants and retreating unharmed." Jang Fan was surprised and replied, "What do you mean by that?" The Lord of the Group Stars said, "In the Divinity Transformation Realm, there's the tribulation of the heavenly human 5 declines, and the sage also faces calamities. The tribulation of the virtuous realm is known as the 3 disasters. These are even more life-threatening than the heavenly human 5 declines. normally occurring once every 1,000 years. If one overcomes the 3 disasters, one can become a saint. Failing to overcome them results in minor damage to the laws, wounds to the magic body, or in severe cases, death. Based on the time frame, the compassionate sage's first disaster should have appeared after the ancient giant war concluded. But, for some unknown reason, his first disaster occurred a year ago. He did not successfully transcend it. Though his life was saved, he was seriously injured, and the laws were damaged. That's also why the small amount of laws of the heavenly eye sage within you could shatter his time retrospection law. Under normal circumstances, this would not happen. Jang Fan nodded with realization and said, "This is indeed good news. He brought it upon himself? However, what does this have to do with me slaying 5 Dharma image realm half-giants?" Mountain transmitted, "Of course it's related. He only temporarily evaded the first disaster, and it will soon come back. In his current state, he may not hold out. For a sage to survive a perilous calamity, a substantial amount of merit is needed to protect him. Now, you have killed more than half of the Dharma image realm practitioners in Heavenly Heritage City. This has stirred the fury of heaven and man alike, and as their protector, I couldn't do anything to you. This will cause some of the half-giants in Heavenly Heritage City to waver in their faith in the compassionate sage. And with unstable faith, it will be hard to amass merit. So, you could say you've created a big problem for the compassionate sage. If he falls in the calamity, you can take credit for at least 30% of it." Upon hearing this, Jang Fan slapped his thigh and lamented. "I said I didn't kill enough, didn't I? Wouldn't it be better if I wiped out half of Heavenly Heritage City and then left unscathed? Should I go back and kill more now?" The Lord of Star Mountain had also taken a liking to Jang Fan. This guy acted decisively and ruthlessly, which was to her taste. But she shook her head. "Forget it. Earlier, it was the great wine sacrifice that concealed the compassionate sage's perception. Now that he's on guard, he won't be easily shielded from perception again." Finally, she glanced at the war-torn city at her feet and said meaningfully, "In any case, be careful of the half-giants in the future." With the compassionate sage keeping an eye, she couldn't be too explicit. She had to be subtle with her reminder. Jang Fan said calmly, "Rest assured, Senior, I never considered the half-giants to be like our human clan. And I never will," the Lord of Star Mountain replied. "It's good that you know that in your heart." Jang Fan cupped his fist and said, "Thank you, Senior, for enlightening me. Until we meet again." The Lord of Star Mountain nodded instinctively. "Take care on the road." Before she could finish, she suddenly realized and grabbed the airborne Jang Fan, laughing angrily. "You brat, you almost led me astray. Who said you could leave? Be good and come back with me to Star Mountain to get married." She finally understood why Venerable Jing had reminded her to keep a close eye on this guy before leaving. This kid is really slippery. With this in mind, she waved out a section of starlight, sealing Jang Fan's whole body except for his eyes, nose, and mouth. Anyone who saw might mistake him for a giant cocoon. Not long after, in returning ruined state on the western lands, a towering immortal mountain, seemingly reaching the sky and connecting with the stars above, came into view. It continuously emitted pure and dense spiritual energy. The excessively rich spiritual energy condensed into fog, enveloping the immortal mountain. This abundance of spiritual energy was the most Jang Fan had seen in any state. Even various secret realms couldn't match this immortal mountain. Under such concentrated spiritual energy, the wild grass on the mountain stood tall like trees, and little spirit beasts were several times larger than usual. Even the bees were as big as fists. For a moment, Jang Fan thought he had entered the heavenly realm. The Lord of Star Mountain said, "This mountain is the immortal mountain of the heavenly realm, and all the spiritual energy of returning ruins state originates from it. If you cultivate here in seclusion, you can forcefully open the 9th acupoint without needing a great pill of spiritual medicine." Speaking of the 9th acupoint, Jang Fan felt a bit troubled. The 9th acupoint was not easy to open. Many remained stuck at the 8th acupoint, unable to enter the ranks of the 9 orifices. What they lack are heaven and earth spiritual treasures. These things are extremely rare. Jang Fan had some, but only half of it. The ancestor of the Green Cloud sect left a heritable item, the soul awakening divine nails for future generations. This object is one of the few divine objects capable of opening the 9th acupoint. But unfortunately, only half of it remained, with no way to obtain the other half. The immortal mountain before his eyes could naturally open the acupoints, its power unimaginable. As they approached the peak, the sound of women's laughter reached their ears. Senior Sister Chen, aren't you ashamed to embroider Jang Fan's portrait under your pillow and kiss it all night? Hee hee, aren't you worse? You embroidered his name on your undergarments. What do you want to smother him? All right, stop quarreling. We are all sisters. Shut up, you shameless green tea. Looking at those erotic pictures is bad enough, but swapping faces to have Jang Fan in them. Approaching Jang Fan, his face was dumbstruck. What kind of outrageous things were these? Could this be something a grown man should hear? He couldn't help but mutter, "Senior, doesn't the atmosphere at your Star Mountain need some regulating?" The Lord of Star Mountain was caught off guard and couldn't help but feel awkward. But as if realizing something, she glared her phoenix eyes. "Isn't it because you're too flashy? What's with you going to the heavenly realm, saving Xingyuan Venerable, confronting the 5-star Giant King, and slashing the Wu Gu? You've caused the young female disciples of Star Mountain to be unable to concentrate on their cultivation." PFFF. Ziwei Fairy couldn't hold back and let out a light laugh. Returning Ruin's state and Hunyuan state have close relations. So long before, images of Jang Fan's deeds in the heavenly realm had spread over. His various jaw-dropping feats caused quite a stir. Among the younger generation, the impact was even greater. The young men were all passionately motivated, taking Jang Fan as their example, cultivating diligently. The young women, on the other hand, mainly admired him. Which girl wouldn't like such a handsome and heroic, proud son of heaven? Star Mountain was all female disciples, making the atmosphere even thicker. The actions of the senior sisters at present were actually considered normal. As far as she knew, a few particularly obsessed senior sisters were busy saving up top-grade crystal stones, preparing to visit Taikang State in person to meet Jang Fan. This was truly crazy. Within the whole sect, only she and her master maintained their composure. She was calm because she knew Jang Fan. Her master was calm because of her temperament. The more people praised the images, the less she cared. But Jang Fan's fame was irresistible. The disciples were all discussing, and wherever the master went, Jang Fan's deeds were being talked about. Her ears nearly developed calluses from hearing it. Hence, she could grumble while being able to recite Jang Fan's deeds backward. Jang Fan was speechless. "Can you really blame me for this?" And as they landed on the mountaintop, the group of disciples was startled and quickly stopped their conversation. They hurriedly moved forward to pay their respects. "Greeting the Venerate." Even the weakest of them were in the core formation realm, while the strongest had reached the 7 apertures nascent soul realm. Aside from all being female, their biggest characteristic was their youth. The youngest seemed around 10, and the oldest just over 30. A 30-plus-year-old at the 7 orifices nascent soul level would be considered a proud daughter in any state in Central Earth. But at Star Mountain, it seemed as expected. This was attributed to the excessively rich spiritual energy of the immortal mountain, where it was hard not to advance quickly. The Lord of Star Mountain glared at them. "If there's nothing else, focus more on cultivating. Aren't you ashamed discussing Jang Fan all day?" These disciples were making her lose face. A slightly younger, seemingly favored, female disciple muttered softly, "What's cultivating compared to Brother Jang Fan?" The Lord of Star Mountain turned around and glared at Jang Fan, annoyed. "Meaning, look at what you've done, making Star Mountain's disciples obsessed like this." At this moment, everyone's eyes unconsciously focused on Jang Fan. There was no way around it. He stood out too much. Wrapped all over by starlight by the Lord of Star Mountain. Only his eyes, 2 nostrils, and mouth were showing. Even a pig at New Year wasn't wrapped as tightly as he was. Fan's name was worn by a female disciple who wanted to kill him, and she asked in confusion, "Great Venerate, what have you captured and brought back?" The Star Mountain Master said, "Ziwei's new groom." What? The disciples were completely stunned. Does Ziwei Fairy still lack suitors? Does she need to forcibly bring one here? Great Venerate, isn't Ziwei Junior Sister's groom supposed to be the young city lord of Heavenly Heritage City? The Star Mountain Master said indifferently, changed. Ziwei is marrying him. Upon hearing this, everyone was incredulous. There are countless talented men in returning Ruin's state. In terms of power and status, who can compare to the young master of Heavenly Heritage City? Great Venerate, this man is only in the nascent soul realm. Is he worthy of Ziwei Junior Sister? Others also expressed their indignation for Ziwei Fairy. Great Venerate, Ziwei Junior Sister is the heir of our Star Mountain. Can't we find someone better for her? A talented man in the divinity transformation realm, it's not like we don't have any in returning Ruin's state, right? Finding someone in the nascent soul realm, wouldn't this be a grievance for Ziwei Junior Sister? Although Ziwei Fairy once made them envious, even jealous. Seeing Ziwei Fairy being married off to someone in the nascent soul realm, they couldn't help but feel sympathetic, because Ziwei Fairy is too outstanding. Half a year ago, while she was passing through the vast sea in the Taikang state, she was accidentally swept into a chaotic state-level teleportation array and unexpectedly transmitted to the Star Mountain of Returning Ruins state, and landed in front of the grave of the late Great Venerate's senior brother. The meditating Great Venerate was alerted and quickly confirmed Ziwei Fairy's identity. It turned out that she was the registered disciple of the Great Venerate's senior brother when he was wandering Taikang state years ago. Now, with the senior brother deceased, the Great Venerate took her as a disciple on his behalf. She possessed an incredibly powerful physique, and after the Great Venerate activated part of it, her cultivation advanced rapidly, almost like a god. In just half a year, under the day and night guidance of the Great Venerate, she advanced from the Foundation establishment realm all the way to the nascent soul middle stage, stunning the entire state. Not long ago, the Great Venerate arranged for her to marry the young city lord of Heavenly Heritage City. Their union was considered a beautiful marriage alliance. Unexpectedly, now there was a sudden change, and the groom was replaced. And replaced with someone in the nascent soul realm, the difference is too great. Listening to everyone's complaints, the Star Mountain Master couldn't be bothered to deal with them and said, "My decision is made. Arrange the hall quickly. They must get married today." She began to walk away, but after a moment's thought, she paused and took out 2 purple jade rings, one large and one small. Ziwei Fairy recognized what they were. Her face changed slightly, and she said, "Master, is this necessary?" "He's in Star Mountain. Can he run away?" The Star Mountain Master said, "Better to be cautious than sorry." With that, she tossed out the 2 jade rings. The smaller one flew and landed in front of Ziwei Fairy, fitted onto her wrist, and then transformed into a purple halo embedded into her body. The larger one flew towards Jang Fan. Just hearing Ziwei Fairy's resistance, it was clear it wasn't something pleasant. Jang Fan, wrapped like a silkworm by the starlight, twisted his body in an attempt to dodge, but the jade ring teleported directly onto his wrist and then embedded into his body. He asked in shock, "Senior, what is this?" The Star Mountain Master said, "Why panic? I'm having you as the groom. How would I harm you? This is the telepathy ring. The distance between the two it binds cannot exceed 1,000 Zhang." "Is that so?" Jang Fan's eyes flashed as he decisively used Cloud Shadow. The Star Mountain Master did not stop him and let Jang Fan perform it. As a result, the Cloud Shadow, which was supposed to traverse dozens of miles in an instant, suddenly exploded at a distance of 1,000 Zhang from Ziwei Fairy. Jang Fan tried to fly across by force, but an undefined force pulled at him, preventing him from crossing the range of 1,000 Zhang. The Star Mountain Master then said, "Don't waste your effort. This is a top-grade spiritual artifact. Even I find it difficult to escape its constraints." Jang Fan's expression sank. The Great Venerate with the heavenly human 5 declines couldn't escape. Doesn't that mean, as long as Ziwei Fairy is in Star Mountain, he can't possibly leave? This rendered all the escape methods he had planned entirely impractical. The Star Mountain Master said, "Behave and get married. Don't make futile struggles." Then, she said to Ziwei Fairy, "Prepare for the marriage with peace of mind." Everything needed for the wedding had been prepared because of the previous engagement with the young city lord, including the Phoenix Coronet and Xiape. Ziwei Fairy nodded, then remembered something and said, "Master, there's one more thing I need your help with. He has a heavenly thunder stone on him which contains all his magical treasures. To prevent his escape, it's better to take his heavenly thunder stone first." The Star Mountain Master recalled Jang Fan's various methods and without hesitation said, "Fortunately, you reminded me. This boy can't be given any chance." She grasped towards Jang Fan's chest. A heavenly thunder stone flew into her palm. Ziwei Fairy said, "Master, let me keep it." The Star Mountain Master did not intend to keep it herself. After all, it was Jang Fan's property. If she took it out of Jang Fan's sight and Jang Fan later accused her of missing items, she wouldn't be able to defend herself. So she tossed it to Ziwei Fairy, saying, "Inform me if anything arises. I'll go tend to that female venerable's injuries first." The memory-lost female venerable, she intended to examine carefully to see if recovery was possible. She suffered at the hands of the compassionate sage while protecting the 7 cities of Heavenly Abyss. The Star Mountain Master couldn't bear to give up. After the Star Mountain Master left, Ziwei Fairy looked at the heavenly thunder stone in her hand but didn't open it. Instead, she looked at it briefly before tucking it into her bosom. Ziwei Fairy, you and I must have been quite familiar at some point, right? Jang Fan squinted, scrutinizing Ziwei Fairy. The number of people who knew he had a heavenly thunder stone wasn't few, but those who knew he used it all the time were very few. Ziwei Fairy didn't reply to him. In fact, Ziwei Fairy had no chance to respond, because as soon as the Star Mountain Master left, the female disciples surrounded them, glaring at Jang Fan with unfriendly eyes. Ziwei Junior Sister, did the sky flip? You're afraid of him running away with Master. Exactly, it seems like Ziwei Junior Sister is begging to marry him. If rumors spread, others might think our Star Mountain's disciples are desperate to marry, Ziwei Fairy quickly said. Esteemed Senior Sisters, it's Master's order, so we must comply. No more disputes. Senior Sister Chen glared sideways at Jang Fan, who was wrapped in starlight, and snorted. Of course, we won't defy the great Venerates' orders, but we just feel it's not worth it for Junior Sister. Dispel his starlight to see what's so special about this person that makes the great Venerate so fond. Before Ziwei Fairy could object, the female disciple who wanted to kill Jang Fan formed seals with her hands, dispelling the starlight. Thus, the starlight enveloping Jang Fan completely faded, revealing his true appearance. Huh! The female disciple who wanted to kill Jang Fan blinked. This guy looks as if he's just like Jang Fan. Sister Chen was also stunned, and then she widened her eyes in surprise. He is Jang Fan? As someone who had embroidered Jang Fan's image on her pillow and looked at it every day, she was too familiar with his appearance. Ah, it really is Jang Fan. Oh my gosh, I've seen Jang Fan himself. Junior Sister, lend me your face. Why? To smack myself to see if I'm dreaming. Even Jang Fan was made somewhat embarrassed by them, awkwardly greeting. I have seen all the senior and junior sisters of Star Mountain. Thank you for relieving the starlight binding. Oh, only then did everyone realize. No wonder the great Venerate forcibly brought Jang Fan back and even used the telepathy ring to bind him. It turns out, Ziwei Fairy's groom is the famous Jang Fan. In comparison, what is the young master of Heavenly Heritage City? Jang Fan is a legend renowned across the world. Suddenly, Senior Sister Chen realized and hurriedly said, Quick, bind him, don't let him run away. Bind him with more bindings. The great Venerate was too careless. How could she let him expose his mouth and nose? Quickly bind him tightly until he can't escape. Ziwei Fairy sighed. She knew it would turn out this way. Before Jang Fan was engulfed by the group of women, she quickly separated the crowd and pulled him out, then swiftly led him into a secret room. Unhappily, the crowd chased to the front of the secret room. Ziwei Fairy, what do you mean? Do you want to keep Jang Fan all to yourself? The great Venerate always taught us to learn to share, have you forgotten? Doing this, you will become the common enemy of Star Mountain. Inside the secret room, Ziwei Fairy shook her head, saying, You need not mind them. Jang Fan looked speechless. Originally wanted to wander around and find an opportunity to leave Star Mountain. Listening to the commotion outside, he immediately gave up the idea. Young men outside need to learn to protect themselves. Ziwei Fairy took out a space talisman and activated it to leave. Before leaving, she said, After the wedding, the Heavenly Thunder Stone will be returned to you. Once she was confirmed gone, Jang Fan's gaze flashed as he took out the space mirror from his arms and overturned it on the ground. With a ding-dong clatter, various chaotic things fell out. All were things from the Heavenly Thunder Stone. It turned out, when Ziwei Fairy had her eyes on the Heavenly Thunder Stone, Jang Fan decisively had Little Killin transfer as much as possible from the Heavenly Thunder Stone. Due to the rush time, Little Killin only took a small part. Upon careful look, there were several spiritual artifacts, some spirit pills, as well as breath soil, evil crow jade seal, and other miscellaneous items. Gurgle Little Killin also rolled out from the mirror, its small mouth holding a jade box containing Thunderbolt Origin, and its two small claws were clutching a black little bell. Jang Fan was surprised and took the black little bell from its embrace. Almost forgot about this thing. The black bell was nothing else. It was the Hell Soul Bell. The underground world of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion was formed because powerful beings from the Hell Realm contended for the Hell Soul Bell, tearing open the realms of Hell and Central Earth. The participants included the mother of the Usura Saint Sun, and Usura Emperor Dongfeng Kanyu, the master of Ayashura King, the mother of the little one-horned young master, also an Usura Emperor, Dugu Empress. Besides, there were countless Usura Kings and nascent Soul Realm Usura clan warriors. The final outcome led to the ancient saint of Cloud Desolation suppressing them all, resulting in their complete annihilation. and this Hell Soul Bell, after 1,000 years, inadvertently ended up in Jang Fan's hands. However, this bell seemed to have no other effect than scaring hell creatures. Shaking his head, he put away the Hell Soul Bell, then took up the Thunderbolt Origin, murmuring, "The heavenly mechanism Elder's compensation shouldn't be wasted." Immediately sitting cross-legged, preparing to comprehend the Thunderbolt Origin, little Killin gazed at the purple ring on Jang Fan's wrist with worry. "Master, what shall we do?" The presence of the telepathy ring left Jang Fan with no chance to leave Star Mountain. Jang Fan kept his eyes closed, comprehending while saying, "If I wish to leave, I can do so at any time." "I'm just hesitating." Twilight approached Ziwei Fairy's abode. She quietly gazed at the red attire sent by her senior sisters. The phoenix coronet was exquisite and dazzling, the xiape splendid and noble, the red dress vivid and bright. The walls were covered with red characters. A pair of candles engraved with the word happiness waited to be lit. A few dishes were set on the table, a pot of wine, 2 wine cups. The usual elegant white bed curtains had all been changed to red. Besides, there was also the dowry sent by the master, purple thunder and green frost, quietly leaning in the corner of the wall. "Am I really getting married?" Ziwei Fairy stood for a long time, softly murmured. "After a long time." She sat in front of the dressing mirror, picked up a comb, and quietly brushed her hair, preparing the most beautiful hairstyle for today's wedding. She remained entirely unaware of the faint space fluctuation passing through her embrace. On the other side, inside the secret room, Jang Fan slowly opened his eyes, surrounded immediately by frantic thunder arcs, crackling explosively. Space fluctuated beside him. Little Killin returned via instantaneous movement, holding a heavenly thunder stone in its mouth. "Master, got it," Little Killin said excitedly. "The other side didn't notice." Jang Fan held a jade seal in his hand. The bottom portion was a seal, and on top was carved a lifelike eyeless crow. The expression vivid, as if once eyes were drawn, it would soar into the sky. It was indeed the evil crow jade seal of the Great Yin sect. Zhu Qianzhang was ordered to go to the Great Yin sect to request this item, saying an elder needed it. Half-giants practicing body refinement have no use for it. Only we human clan magic cultivators need it. And the elder who concerned Heavenly Heritage City enough to help could only be the master of Star Mountain. This jade seal would serve as compensation. Afterward, he looked at the purple jade ring shadow on his wrist. Mentally chanting, a green eye emerged from his abdomen. It was the replica eye taken from Wang Chengxiao. As Star Mountain Master activated the jade ring, Jang Fan secretly launched the eye, replicating the manipulation method. Now it was easy to deploy. The shadow on his wrist quickly solidified, finally materializing into a real purple jade ring. Jang Fan removed it and placed it on the table as well. A complicated expression flashed in his eyes. "Let's go." With a thought, the surrounding space fluctuated, instantaneously moving him and Little Killin away. When they reappeared, Star Mountain had already become very remote behind them. Little Killin said, "We successfully escaped." Jang Fan said, "It's too soon to say if Star Mountain Master realizes she can catch up in an instant. Let me first disguise myself." He had a mask impervious even to the heavenly human 5 declines. Wearing it, even if Star Mountain Master pursued, she might not recognize him. Just when his consciousness entered the heavenly thunderstone, he suddenly froze. It wasn't because the contents of the heavenly thunderstone were less, but more. As dowry, purple thunder and green frost quietly lay inside. Ziwei Fairy's telepathy ring also lay inside. Beside the jade ring, there was also a jade scroll. Carving within was exactly the manipulation method of the telepathy ring. Ziwei Fairy had long expected Little Killin to retrieve the heavenly thunder stone. She had allowed Jang Fan to leave. No, she never thought to force Jang Fan to marry her. She only wished to help Jang Fan obtain purple thunder and green frost. Jang Fan stood in a daze at the spot. He wondered, why did the silent Ziwei Fairy, who was always kind to him, suddenly become unreasonable and then resort to moral coercion? It turned out she saw Jang Fan's purple sword being taken away and couldn't bear to see him lose it. So she forcibly wanted to bring Jang Fan back to force a marriage. Actually, she wanted to give the purple sword and green frost to him. Jang Fan clenched the heavenly thunder stone, feeling a whirlwind of emotions inside. He turned back to glance at Star Mountain, standing silently. The Little Killin leaned its round head over, curiously watching Jang Fan's eyes. His eyes were no longer calm. Like an autumn lake, a breeze stirred endless ripples. It was an emotion the little Killin had never seen on Jang Fan before. Couldn't quite discern what it was. Seemed like hesitation, seemed like guilt, also seemed like longing. It waved its small paws in front of Jang Fan's eyes, saying, "Master, what's wrong?" Jang Fan withdrew his gaze, his voice slightly hoarse, saying goodbye to an old acquaintance once missed. He took one last look at Star Mountain, murmuring, "May you be treated with kindness for the rest of your life." With those words, he silently turned around, disappearing into the long night. Meanwhile, inside the cave, Ziwei Fairy was already dressed up. Her long black hair smoothly cascaded down her back, and the exquisite, elegant red dress enhanced her tall and captivating figure with a dash of brilliance. The delicate and splendid phoenix crown shimmered with a hazy glow. She sat before the copper mirror, gazing at her reflection, murmuring softly, "I once said not to meet again in this life. Didn't expect that we meet again, Jang Fan." She held the golden mask on her face, slowly removing it. A stunningly beautiful young face made the copper mirror shine a bit brighter. Her brows were gentle, her expression soft, her features exquisitely picturesque, yet lacked a bit of the vivacity a young girl should have. Had gained a bit of maturity. She was none other than Su Yining. Gazing at her reflection in splendid attire, she couldn't help but smile faintly. Fate truly loves to mock people. The marriage contract personally destroyed long ago returns in another form after so long. Thank you. Thank heaven for letting me fulfill the dream of being Jang Fan's bride, for allowing me to put a full stop to the regret of youth. But she gently removed the phoenix crown from her head and placed it softly on the dressing mirror, murmuring, "Our story actually has ended long ago." 2 teardrops fell silently onto the phoenix crown, followed by shimmering and bright red gems sliding quietly. "Jang Fan." She gently caressed the phoenix crown that appeared in her dreams countless times, tears spilling like a kite with a broken string, unstoppable. "Forgive me for my youthful recklessness. If there's a next life I won't let go, I'll hold your hand and grow old with you. But this life ends here. For the rest of your days, please take care." An ancient towering tree. Star Mountain Master leaned against the tree, silver hair fluttering, long dress lightly floating. She looked up at the moon bright enough to pick with a gesture, sighing slightly. 2 fools. She lightly tapped her fingers, the telepathy ring left by Jang Fan in the secret room transformed into a ray of purple light, flying far away. On the horizon, Jang Fan felt something, turned around and reached out, precisely catching the purple light. Upon closer inspection, he was astonished. "Is this a gift from the Star Mountain Master?" He finally understood. Star Mountain Master had observed everything between him and Su Yining. If she didn't want Jang Fan to leave, he wouldn't be able to. It seems she saw Su Yining release Jang Fan, so she didn't pair them together again. Jang Fan sighed deeply, a sense of guilt flooded his heart. If he stayed and got married, Su Yining would be very happy, wouldn't she? But he, a dying man, why let Su Yining fall into despair again? This might be their last meeting. After a long silence, he bowed towards the direction of Star Mountain Master, then turned to leave. As for where he was heading, he was somewhat confused. Returning Ruin's state is so vast. Searching for Yue Mingzhu is no less than finding a needle in a haystack. Remembering Yue Mingzhu was transported to Heavenly Heritage City more than half a month ago, Jang Fan hesitated. Perhaps he'd have to visit Heavenly Heritage City again. Just pondering, suddenly a palm-sized little white rabbit darted out under his feet, munching on a bit of grass in its mouth. Jang Fan looked at it, slightly surprised. "This rabbit looks a bit familiar." Just as he spoke, in his startled gaze, the little white rabbit visibly expanded, soon transforming to the size of a cow. "Isn't this Forgetful Wild Elder's mount? If it's here, isn't Forgetful Wild Elder nearby too? Haha, kid, I knew still you're more destined with me." A drunken voice came from above his head. Looking up, he saw a sack descending from the sky. My goodness. Jang Fan was speechless. Why didn't anyone tell him that the great Venerates of returning Ruin's state liked to forcibly kidnap men? Before he could resist, he was stuffed into the sack. His expression changed, seriously stated. "Senior, I came to returning Ruin's state to find a dear friend. Please don't make things difficult." Forgetful Wild Elder flashed to his side, stroking his beard. "You find your dear friend, and I'll find a perfect husband for my disciple. No conflict, no conflict." Having said that, he picked up the sack and was about to leave. Jang Fan was anxious, decisively drew the purple thunder, sternly said, "Senior, if you don't let go, don't blame me for damaging your magical treasure." Forgetful Wild Elder swung the sack over his shoulder, drunkenly said, This is a top-grade spiritual artifact. If you have the ability, go ahead and damage it. Jang Fan gritted his teeth. He tightened his grip on the purple thunder, slashing fiercely at the sack before him. To be honest, he wasn't confident he could cut through it. Though the purple sword had the sharpness to cut through everything, it had its limits. Against top-grade spiritual artifacts, especially those meant to trap people with exceptional toughness, it was hard for the purple sword to slice through. However, once the sword swung out, an unexpected scene unfolded for Jang Fan. The purple sword suddenly emitted a burst of purple electric light, clinging to the sword body. When the electric light sliced through the sack, it was like it was cutting through tofu, directly slicing open a huge gap in the sack. Unrelenting, the electric light, after cutting the sack, continued to sever the little white rabbit's raised tail. The tail, too, sliced off a small piece like tofu. In pain, the big white rabbit suddenly dashed off frantically. Noticing the anomaly, the startled, forgetful wild elder quickly dropped the sack. Seeing Jang Fan emerging from the crack, holding purple thunder, his eyes widened in disbelief, showing a ghostly expression. "Has that woman gone mad? How could she supplement the artifact spirit of purple thunder for you?" Jang Fan also gazed dumbly at the purple sword in his hand, looking unfamiliar. Is this still his purple sword? Why did it give him a sense of transformation? Upon hearing the words artifact spirit, he promptly looked at the sword body of purple sword, discovering for the first time a purple lightning seal on it. It was evidently the artifact spirit of purple thunder. Su Yining not only returned the purple thunder to him, but also infused it with an artifact spirit. He finally understood why during random transmission in returning Ruin's state, he was transported to Su Yining. That's because Su Yining possessed the artifact spirit that belonged to purple thunder. Fan felt heavy in his heart and asked, "Senior, is the artifact spirit of purple thunder very valuable?" Think about it carefully. If the artifact spirit was an ordinary thing, the 9-aperture nascent soul from back then wouldn't have taken it away, leaving an empty shell of purple thunder for Su Yining. The value of the artifact spirit should be no less than purple thunder. It may even be much more valuable. Judging from the shocked reaction of the forgetful wild elder earlier, it can reflect this point from the side. More than just valuable. The forgetful wild elder looked at the purple sword shimmering with purple light with envy and said, "The artifact spirit of purple thunder is a soul fragment from a boundary master in the heavenly realm 1,000,000 years ago." What? Jang Fan was greatly surprised. He thought he heard it wrong and asked, "Boundary master of the heavenly realm?" The forgetful wild elder slightly nodded. "That's right. Its soul fragment was absorbed by the immortal mountain and preserved. Later, when the immortal mountain crafted purple thunder and green frost, it unintentionally became the artifact spirit of purple thunder. It grants purple thunder the trait of slicing through anything." He scratched his head, puzzled. "I really don't understand how that woman could bear to give you this artifact spirit." Jang Fan was stunned. Of course, the Star Mountain Master wouldn't, but Su Yining would. For a moment, he couldn't help but ask himself if he had been too heartless to Su Yining, but now is not the time to worry about this. He raised his sword in front of his chest and said, "Senior, I'm eager to find someone, and I truly cannot afford to get involved in any romantic entanglements. If you continue to press me, I can't guarantee this sword won't strike your disciple." The forgetful wild elder glanced at the torn burlap sack and finally showed some concern. A forced melon isn't sweet. If the other party genuinely resists intensely, it might actually harm his disciple, which would be a loss. After thinking it over, he said, "If I help you find that romantic confidant, can you meet my disciple?" Jang Fan's eyes lit up. A great venerate in returning Ruin's state helping to find someone. Far better than him looking for a needle in a haystack. He waited and said, "Meeting is fine, but I don't guarantee anything else." The forgetful wild elder laughed. "All right. If I lead such a powerful peer to her, wouldn't she be dazzled? What's her name?" Jang Fan quickly replied, "Yue Mingzhu. She's a girl who appears to be 18. The forgetful wild elder slightly nodded. "Yue Mingzhu. Does she have any distinctive features?" Clearly, he hadn't heard of this name either. Jang Fan replied without thinking, "She probably arrived at Heavenly Heritage City through the 9-dragon demon tripod left by the senior about half a month ago." Oh, the forgetful wild elder's eyes flickered. His disciple appeared in Heavenly Heritage City about half a month ago. Could it be that Jang Fan's romantic confidant is indeed his disciple? But his disciple's name isn't Yue Mingzhu. Rather, it's Yu Shengyan. Moreover, Yu Shengyan mentioned before that her heartless man was a womanizer with countless women. The Jang Fan in front of him, for Yue Mingzhu, didn't hesitate to travel far to returning ruins state, and then consecutively rejected the first beauty of returning ruins state in marriage, now even threatening to refuse his disciple. Such a devoted person doesn't quite match being called heartless. This Yue Mingzhu should have come to returning ruins state around the same time as Yu Shengyan, right? He slightly nodded and said, "All right, I'll instruct someone to check. However, it will take some time, at least a few days or as much as a week." Jang Fan was overjoyed and said, "No problem, I can wait." He understood. Even for a great Venerate to find someone, it wouldn't be a matter of moments. The forgetful wild elder stroked his beard and said, "The ancient saint specifically wants you to go to the demon continent. You don't have time to linger in returning ruins state." "How about this? I'll also have my disciple follow the ancient saint's requirement to take a trip to the demon continent later. If she encounters trouble, please look after her." Jang Fan almost forgot the ancient saint's instructions. Considering that finding someone takes time, it's just perfect to take this time to visit the demon continent. As for taking care of his disciple along the way, Jang Fan wouldn't refuse and said, "All right, I'll head to the demon continent now. May I ask how to contact your disciple?" The forgetful wild elder casually took out 2 leaves, 1 gold and 1 silver. He handed the golden leaf to Jang Fan and said, "The 2 leaves will sense each other's location. As long as they're within a single state, they work. She will use this leaf to find you." Jang Fan accepted it and cupped his hands. "Then I'll trouble the senior to help me find someone. Farewell." Just as he was about to leave, the forgetful wild elder suddenly called out to Jang Fan, "Hold on here, take this rabbit tail." With a flick of his finger, the severed rabbit tail from the purple sword flew into Jang Fan's hand. Jang Fan's face lit up with joy. He had seen with his own eyes that the big white rabbit bit off a wisp of fur from his chest and sprinkled it on venerable Jing, causing him to heal from serious injuries instantly. This arm-length rabbit tail has dozens of tufts of rabbit fur, enough for him to heal himself dozens of times. This is definitely a precious treasure. "Thank you, senior." Jang Fan gratefully said farewell and headed towards the Kinshin Bureau. The big white rabbit turned its head mournfully, staring at its severed tail, bumping its head sulkily against the forgetful wild elder's back. Caught off guard, the forgetful wild elder was bumped and flew out, landing with a face full of dirt. "Ouch, my old back." The forgetful wild elder clutched his waist and climbed up, swearing, "You damned rabbit. If I hadn't promised that sage to take care of you, I would have twisted your head off and made it into a spicy rabbit head." Half a day later, the forgetful wild elder returned to an ancient ruin. Ripples of law surrounded the ruins. Within the ruins, in front of a stone monument, a young lady in a pink dress sat cross-legged in front of the monument, quietly comprehending the Supreme Tao skill written on it. Her figure wasn't considered tall, possessing the unique youthful aura of a girl. Yet in her eyes, there was a touch of weariness not typical of a girl. She was none other than Yue Mingzhu. Yu Shengyan is her real name. Yue Mingzhu was just her alias when she traveled within the 9 sects. Apprenticed under a great Venerate, how could she dare to use an alias? Not seeing her for half a month, her cultivation surged, reaching the 4-orifice peak level, soon to step into the 5 apertures nascent soul. The resources from the heavenly mountain battlefield allowed her to leap from the peak of 2nd nascent soul to 3 aperture nascent soul level. After apprenticing under the forgetful wild elder, she advanced rapidly under his meticulous nurturing, reaching the 4-orifice peak. Her journey in the martial path was smoother than ever before. However, there was little joy on her face. As she practiced, she stopped, her eyes dim, and said, "I've been missing for so long. Has Jang Fan worried about me? Did he come to the continent searching for me? Knowing him, he must have been worried and surely looked for me, right? But he probably wouldn't guess that I went to the nascent soul cave mansion and wouldn't know I've been transported to returning ruins state. Should I go back home?" But then she thought again, getting annoyed. What would I go back for? He's busy with a myriad of tasks. To him, I'm nothing but a burden. Maybe even in looking for me, he's just doing a cursory search before getting on with other things. The more she thought, the angrier she became, clenching her pink fist in defiance. "I just won't go back. As long as you don't come looking for me, I won't leave. You don't look for me for a lifetime. Then a lifetime I won't see you. HMPH." Just then, a big white rabbit burst into the ruins. The forgetful wild elder, for a change, was without the smell of booze, his face full of smiles. "Shengyan, still angry at that unfaithful man. Don't keep thinking about that scumbag. Master has someone better to introduce." Yue Mingzhu heard and argued, "Master, do not speak of him like that. He is not a heartless man. He just has too many burdens on his shoulders, leaving him no time to care for anything else." This is what she can think to herself. But she forbids anyone from speaking of Jang Fan in such a way. Forgetful Wild Elder snorted, still defending him. "Because of him, even your Tao heart is unstable. What is he if not a heartless man?" He too felt helpless. Yu Shengyan, like today, suddenly spacing out mid-cultivation, was not the first occurrence. Clearly, her mental state was affected. He once thought of personally taking a trip to Taikang State to capture that heartless man. But Yu Shengyan was still stubbornly obsessed, wholeheartedly defending him, refusing to speak his name come what may. Thinking of this, he increasingly felt the need to initiate a new romance for Yu Shengyan. Coincidentally, that Jang Fan is practically a dragon among men. Even compared to the descendants of the great sages of Central State, he is not inferior. "I see you have no heart for cultivation. Prepare to go to Demon Continent. The Great Wine Sacrifice there will assign you a mission." Demon Continent? Yue Mingzhu pondered for a moment. The Brahma Saint True Spirit technique Jang Fan cultivates still lacks a type of true spirit blood, right? Demon Continent is a place where the demon race congregates, with several descendants of true spirits. If their essence blood could be obtained, Jang Fan's cultivation technique would reach perfection. Her eyes lit up slightly. She eagerly said, "I will set off immediately." Forgetful Wild Elder said, "What is the hurry? Take these things with you for protection." He handed Yue Mingzhu a space storage device, which contained various magical treasures, spirit pills, and some tufts of rabbit fur. This mission was personally arranged by the ancient saint. It could be dangerous. Afterward, he took out a silver leaf and flicked it into Yue Mingzhu's body. "Master, what is this leaf?" Yue Mingzhu asked. Forgetful Wild Elder said, "I have found a good man for you. With this leaf, you can sense his location. When you go to Demon Continent, meet him along the way." Ah, does Master really want to introduce her to a man? Yue Mingzhu remained expressionless, saying, "Yes, Master." In her heart, however, she coldly thought, "Where did this presumptuous person come from to make my master so taken? You better not think of approaching me. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind making you disappear from this world." In her heart, even secretly meeting another man would be a betrayal of Jang Fan. If this person hoped to take advantage of the rift between her and Jang Fan, he should not blame her for being ruthless and heartless. Disciple takes her leave. Yue Mingzhu left the relic, heading towards the Kinshin Bureau. Forgetful Wild Elder watched her depart, sighing slightly. "In times of calamity, Master will rely on you. Hopefully, with your Emperor's Gaze technique, I can quickly attain merit as a sage. Only then can I complete my plan. Suzhen has been waiting for me for 100 years. I should accomplish our common ideal to save Central Earth." He grabbed the wine gourd, tilted his head, and took a sip. In a moment of daze, it was as if he saw a pair of young men and women parting ways on the continent 100 years ago. One traveled towards the heavenly mechanism pavilion, the road to awaken the ancient saint. One went into seclusion to understand the soul, walking the mysterious soul path. Kinshin Bureau. Jang Fan arrived at Kinshin Bureau, gazing at the central main island, contemplating whether to go up and thank the Great Wine Sacrifice. If she hadn't blocked compassionate sage's perception, he would never have avenged the 7 cities of the heavenly abyss. "Woo-woo, little Qiang, you died so tragically." The cries of Great Wine Sacrifice echoed from afar. The surrounding members of Kinshin Bureau immediately panicked. "Great Wine Sacrifice, don't cry, I'll apologize. I shouldn't have crushed this cockroach. I deserve to die. I'm not human, just beg you not to cry. When you cry, we will cry along." "Wow-woo, I can't take it. I'm crying first, cockroach brother, you died young, how can we live?" "I can't take it either, woo-woo-woo, cockroach uncle, I'll burn more leftovers for you." "Woo-woo-woo, cockroach big brother, go peacefully. Your wife and daughter, I will take care of them. Do not worry." Listening to the whole Kinshin Bureau mourning a cockroach, Jang Fan got goosebumps all over, hurriedly made a run for the state-level teleportation array to the Demon Continent, decisively activated the transmission array to flee, with a whirl of heaven and earth. He quickly felt solid ground again and started to vomit profusely. However, compared to mourning a cockroach, it felt much better. "Senior, are you reinforcements from returning ruined state?" A female commander with a cultivation of 7 orifice nascent soul sensed someone arriving and approached with a jade booklet. Upon seeing Jang Fan's face, she asked in confusion, "Aren't you Jang Fan from Taikang State?" Jang Fan nodded, saying, "Ordered to support Demon Continent, what is required of me?" The ancient saint merely named him to visit Demon Continent. did not mention what was urgent in Demon Continent, nor arrange specific tasks. Confirming the person in front was really Jang Fan. The commander's eyes widened in excitement. "It's really you." "My God, you came to our Demon Continent. Everyone come and see." Jang Fan was speechless. His fame spread that quickly. He hastily stopped her, awkwardly said, "Commander, how about we discuss business first?" While speaking, he put on that human skin mask over his face and stored the conspicuous 3 swords on his back into the space storage device. Doing things this way seemed more convenient. The commander then realized Jang Fan did not like attention, stuck out her tongue, and said, "Sorry. Senior Jiang, if you came to support our Demon Continent, you'd better go to Spiritual Snake Mountain." Jang Fan's heart tightened. Spiritual Snake Mountain? Isn't that where Ling Shu and Liu Li went? He asked seriously, "What happened at Spiritual Snake Mountain?" The commander solemnly said, "Beneath Spiritual Snake Mountain, an interlayer world was unexpectedly discovered, forming its own space. Inside, it's full of hell creatures. Over a month ago, that interlayer world connected with Demon Continent. Many hell creatures poured out, causing immense destruction. Even our great wine sacrifice went to assist and has not yet returned. A self-contained world and full of hell creatures." Jang Fan instantly grew serious. He had witnessed the horrors of hell creatures in the underground world of Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Not only were they formidable, but they often formed groups, with massive numbers, extremely difficult to cope with. With the power of great wine sacrifice having gone so long without resolving the threat, it shows the great urgency indirectly. "I'll go now." Jang Fan's heart was anxious. Ling Shu and Liu Li are at Spiritual Snake Mountain. They haven't returned for so long. Could they be in danger? After asking the direction to Spiritual Snake Mountain, he was ready to head there. Suddenly, a nearby island erupted with powerful spatial fluctuations. The commander's eyes lit up, saying, "Someone from Heavenly State has arrived. I wonder who Heavenly State has sent this time to assist." It turns out, the ancient saint not only notified returning ruined state, but all states. On hearing Heavenly State, Jang Fan felt nothing at first. But then, a mix of frenzied thunderstorm aura and the heavenly human 5 declines pressure also rushed from the array. Jang Fan's body shook slightly, narrowed his eyes, watching the transmission array closely. Could that person have arrived? Light gradually grew stronger. In an instant, it was like the blazing sun was right before his eyes. Not only was it blindingly bright, impossible for the naked eye to look at directly, but the destructive thunder breath it emitted also ignited the atmosphere. The nearby commander, her skin visibly burned and reddened. She appeared to be in pain, bowed respectfully, and said, "Welcome, young emperor, to Demon Continent." Jang Fan's heart trembled. Sure enough, it's the young emperor. The nemesis who had sought to kill him ever since Jang Fan started cultivating void flow thunder force. Now they finally met. A dense web of thunder arcs radiated in all directions with the young emperor's steps. The commander was struck by the thunder arcs, her expression more pained, her skin covered in dense burns, her blood a blur. Jang Fan was also struck, his body seared by the mighty thunder arcs. Fortunately, he had comprehended the thunderbolt origin. Operating it, all of the thunder arcs invading his body were dispelled. He stepped forward, placing his hand on the commander, dispelling the thunder arcs within her, allowing her to feel slightly better. Jang Fan was secretly awed. It was his first time seeing someone dare to show such arrogance to the Kinshin Bureau. Even the compassionate sage would show some respect to the great wine sacrifice, wouldn't he? Yet this young emperor disregarded everything. He stared at the transmission hall, wanting to see what kind of deity the young emperor truly was. However, at the moment the young emperor stepped out of the transmission hall, the terrifying thunder light on his body surged 100-fold. Truly like a sun. Jang Fan's eyes were in great pain, making it impossible to look any longer. The expanding thunder arcs swept through the entire Kinshin Bureau like a tidal wave. Even as he operated the origin, it was difficult to resist the all-pervasive thunder arcs. A voice, imperial and domineering, coldly echoed, "Even mere hell creatures require me to come? A bunch of trash." Every word was like thunder exploding, causing everyone in the Kinshin Bureau to vomit blood. Those with weaker cultivation fainted on the spot. The commander spat out a large mouthful of blood, neither daring to be angry nor utter a word. She could only bow deeply, remaining silent. Jang Fan was also shaken, his insides churning, his heart pounding. Is this the might of the young emperor himself? Just a single sentence carried the weight of divine might. No wonder even the arrogant Venerate Zinni feared the young emperor as a god. His power was suffocating. As he pondered, suddenly, the power of lightning within Jang Fan's body became chaotic. The thunder origin he just cultivated trembled. It was the young emperor gazing down at Jang Fan. He sensed that Jang Fan was also cultivating the Thunder Dao divine power, so he glanced at him. But it was just a glance before he withdrew his gaze expressionlessly. Then he disappeared on the spot. The thunder arcs he released gradually dissipated long after. In the Kinshin Bureau, someone dared to groan mournfully. Earlier, they didn't dare even to breathe heavily, fearing they might provoke him. The commander, pale-faced, had lingering fears and said, "It's often said that the young emperor is domineering and unparalleled with a unique supremacy. Seeing it today, we've experienced it." She then looked at Jang Fan, gratefully saying, "Thank you, Senior Jiang, for your help." If not for him, at such close range, she would have been gravely injured. She hesitated for a moment and cautiously added, "Senior Jiang, make sure to stay away from the young emperor." The young emperor, being the master of Young Emperor Mountain, specializes in the path of thunder. He's not friendly with other Thunder Dao factions. The commander noticed the young emperor looking at Jang Fan earlier, so she warned him to be careful. Jang Fan said coldly, "Isn't he a bit too overbearing? The void flow thunder force diverts his blessings, and it's not enough that he forbids others from practicing it. Why does cultivating the Thunder Path technique still attract his ire?" The Thunder Path technique has long existed, with the 10,000 Tribulations Holy Temple practicing it for millennia. And how old is the young emperor? As a newcomer, yet he disapproves of other Thunder Path practitioners. The commander gave a bitter smile, saying, "This is the Kinshin Bureau, and he still held back somewhat. If this were the heavenly state, he might well have killed you. When you reach Spiritual Snake Mountain, avoid encountering him to save yourself the trouble." Jang Fan nodded, even though he was a dying man with nothing to fear. But for now, it's best to stay away from him. Jang Fan had a lot of unfinished business. Several days later, Jang Fan crossed half of Demon Continent and finally reached the extreme southern land. No wonder it's called a great state. It's much larger than the Great Wilderness State, Hunyuan State, and Returning Ruins State. He recalled someone once said, "The words great state aren't taken lightly. It signifies prosperity and flourishing. Like the former Taikang State, now the Demon Continent." Therefore, Jang Fan had traveled for 5 consecutive days before finally arriving at a golden mountain range. In the verdant primordial forest, this barren, golden-glowing mountain range stood exceptionally conspicuous. Upon first sight, it resembled a golden snake slithering through the ancient land. This was the Spiritual Snake Mountain. Truth be told, this place was already at the southernmost part of the great state. The spiritual energy wasn't that abundant. It's unclear why the founder of Spiritual Snake Mountain chose to procreate here. Shaking his head, he immediately flew forward. Just as he reached the side of Golden Snake Mountain, a powerful demon race member, with a divine ring on the back of his head, emanating the aura of a demon monarch, appeared. It had a pair of yellow vertical eyes and its body was covered with dense scales. It was cautiously appraising Jang Fan. "Who goes there?" Jang Fan cupped his hands and said, "Taikang State Wang Chengxiao, ordered to come and support the interlayer space." The demon monarch looked skeptical. An atorifious nascent soul, capable of going mad at any time and possibly unable to control himself. What could he do? The hell creatures in the interlayer world were no joke. After some thought, it said, "Right, come with me, I'll take you to the interlayer world." Since Taikang State sent this Wang Chengxiao, he must possess extraordinary skills. "Senior, please wait, I want to ask you about 2 people. Jang Fan said. "One of them is called Liu Li, the other Ling Shu. They should have arrived at Spiritual Snake Mountain about half a month ago." Upon hearing this, the other frowned and said, "Liu Li, Ling Shu, never heard of them. Our Spiritual Snake Mountain is vast and boundless, with as many clansmen as stars in the sky. If they're not particularly notable, I, the Demon Monarch, probably wouldn't know them. I'll first take you to the interlayer world, and you can search slowly after the crisis is averted." Jang Fan's brows furrowed even deeper. Ling Shu might be ordinary, but Liu Li was the princess of Spiritual Snake Mountain, the daughter of the great Venerate. If she had come to Spiritual Snake Mountain, how could it be that the demon monarch before him was unaware? Could it be that Liu Li and Ling Shu encountered misfortune on the way and didn't make it to Spiritual Snake Mountain? Or is the demon monarch before him deliberately concealing the truth? Thinking it over, he feigned enlightenment, saying, "That makes sense, I'll search afterward." Please, Senior, lead the way to the interlayer world. The demon monarch nodded and turned to lead the way. Jang Fan stepped forward to catch up. Suddenly, the divine ring on the back of the demon monarch's head flickered unexpectedly. A domain instantly enveloped Jang Fan. An invisible force surged into Jang Fan's soul, seeming to erase his memories. However, with the void ancient tree's presence, the deletion failed. Jang Fan was initially startled. Then his eyes shifted, pretending to be in pain, then became vacant. Deleting memories, is it? He's quite familiar with that.